right, hello and welcome to episode 19 of season 2 of the Crackdown. Today we have GrabbZ joining us. He was doing my job for me, informing everyone of when the episode was going to be, because I have had so many problems with my AC. I've had two people here, it broke, got fixed, broke again, and I've just been like in the struggle of, trying to get out of this Texas heat. So if you do hear stuff in the background, we're going to try to limit it as much as possible. But yeah, we do have people here working. Try to get my AC up and running. So how are you doing today, GrabbZ?
I'm doing perfectly fine. I'm here while Germany is playing, so that was a mistake, but I hope you're going to have a good show.
Well, I wonder if there's something similar to what's happening to you, Dom, happening in Team Liquid House, because I heard the heat's really fucking gone up for Jack. That's what I heard.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, we got to talk about that, because we saw Sven coming out with a tweet. We saw Sven come out with a tweet. He said that there was big announcements coming soon. First one announced, which was him coming back, and not saying that we know anything here that the community doesn't, but potentially this could imply that Alphari also might be coming back for Team Liquid. So it's really weird to see like these types of benchings happen. You assume that both of these benchings weren't skill related, because these are some of the top players in their roles, and assuming it's an attitude issue. But if it was for an attitude issue and now the players are coming back, like, does this actually solve anything? So what's your interpretation seeing this from overseas, GrabbZ?
I think, first of all, you have to differentiate between attitude issues towards the coach and in between the team, because I think we have different cases here, right? Where maybe, from what I've heard as well, like, not saying, of course, too much, but that in Sven's case, maybe there was a dynamic in the team that didn't work anymore, or it seemed to not work anymore. So that's a different case than, from what we heard at least, that there was a difference between what Alphari and Jad thought, right? So over here, I think we have two just very, very, very different cases how like a coach should handle it. But I think for both players, I know them both. They both deserve to be playing because they're the best in their role in the team, at least. And Alphari probably the best top in A still. So it's better for the league if they play, for sure.
Yeah. Also, let's be real. Like, just being as brutal as possible. If you took the nameplates off, nobody in the world ever thought King and fucking Jenkins were as good as Sven and Alphari. Nobody did. And by the way, I know their coaches tried to big them up. Like, no, they're top play. Look, they're not as good as those players. The gap is too ridiculous. Like, there's a reason they were your academy players, not your starters. So, like, that's why, to me, like, when they tried to spin it, obviously it was mainly the Team Liquid ones. It was like, even vaguely the idea it was about his performance. Like, that just that's why I was always suspicious before I even knew any banned his info, because that just never made any sense. That just doesn't make any sense, and it doesn't now. Like, let's be real, you were always going to have to bring them back. It was always going to happen that eventually you'd lose a bunch of big games if you're Cloud9. If you're Team Liquid, the team just basically fucking Tactical isn't having the best year, is he? Like, you've got basically one player that can carry Jensen. At the moment, he looks like he's in his fucking shell because the team's just falling apart. So, like, to me, it was so obvious these players were coming back. Like, it really did remind me of that classic moment in the original Breaking Point where they benched Dardoch at the beginning of the split, and they're like, now, Dardoch, you're going to learn your lesson in academy. And then they put in Moon, right? He just shits the bed completely. They just collapse internally. And I think something meant, like, for the second game, they're just like, Dardoch, can you come back? And he just he almost like swaggers over with a look on his face, like, I'll put my balls on your face after this game, motherfucker. And I remember just saying, like, dude, you've now made whatever problem he had with his attitude 1,000 times worse, because you just told him, like, he is totally indispensable. You fucked without him. So that's why, to me, this whole thing was just a clusterfuck. Like, I'm going to be glad when it's all resolved. And as far as I heard, things are going to get sorted soon enough.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's a good thing that you brought up there, which was like team dynamic. But I feel like in Cloud9's case, they actually did have more of a belief in King. Like, I think that his performance was probably worse than expected. Like, at least from my perspective, I feel like Jenkins in a way raised his value based off coming in and playing. But I felt like King, who is somebody who we've been hearing is LCS ready for a while. I mean, it's obviously two different, completely different players. You had Jenkins on one side where everyone is saying, oh, he's like an academy player. Like, I don't know if he'll ever be ready. And then you have King where people are saying, hey, he should be in like LCS right now over people like, for example, Deathly and EG last season. So I feel like if the situation has any type of like attitude issues with either of these players, like, their attitudes just got worse. Like, their egos are just gonna be bigger, because now it's not only, oh, like, we had some issue, it's like, yeah, and now I know I'm the shit because you benched me and you can't fucking win without me. So I think that this is like a really interesting situation that we heard here from both parties. So for the C9 thing, I wanted to ask you, GrabbZ, specifically about this dynamic, because the thing that seems really interesting to me is that when you have like a hierarchy within the teams, you would assume that players like Perkz, Mithy, and Sven would just like automatically control the team coming in. They're the veteran players. They have this like pre-existing relationship. They're supposed to be like really good friends. Perkz, obviously Western like GOAT. Mithy is somebody who's now the head coach of the team. So this seems like really strange when you think about like how could this benching occur? Like who could be having the problem with Sven to have the issue? Did you like speculate on this at all? Like how this could come about with that potential hierarchy existing within Cloud9?
I didn't think about it specifically in Cloud9, but I think one thing to note is that the hierarchy only works if it's constant. That means the reasons why people are on top or bottom need like stay the same. That means if a player who's on top suddenly changes his demeanor towards others, that's an issue, right? So I'm not sure if that happened or not, but I'm just saying if the reasons why Sven was respected, he didn't do him anymore, like it changed, then there's a clear reason why he got benched, right? Because the person that he was not as healthy to the team anymore because he has changed. So I think that just what could have happened there. Again, I don't have that much information about Cloud9. Also, I could have, but I mean, I don't want to like bother my ex-players or friends like when they're playing.
I'll give you an example of what he means by that. One of the real reasons, by the way, why Forgiven's time in Schalke blew up wasn't even just the idea that he wasn't a good player anymore, or that like, you know, the team didn't. So it was the fact that like his whole identity as a player was based on I'm always going to be the best player in any team I'm in. And because of that, you have to listen to me, because if you listen to me, we win the game. Now, if you do that and you have that harsh an attitude, but you're not the best player, you're not the best player in the game, you're not the best player in the team, and you lose all the time, the whole hierarchy is gone. It's a house of cards that'll collapse. Similarly, I'll give you the good example. By the end of their careers, I thought people like Mithy were pretty busted, like mechanically. Like they didn't look actually individually like they were that good in the game. They got caught out all the time and stuff. But because he still, from all teammates I've heard of, was like a brilliant fucking mind for the game, had like a great way of communicating. People believed in him till the very end, mate. In fact, if people don't know this, people wanted Mithy for season 10 Origin. Like, they wanted him in this team. He would have been there with Upset, etc. It's just that at the time, the douchebag organization were literally offering him, like, the minimum salary possible or something mental. So, unsurprisingly, he went and became a coach. So, to me, that I agree with the dynamic comment. It's not even that, like, it can't change. But if it changes, then the hierarchy has to change, you know?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think GrabbZ is a perfect person to ask about, like, what other options you have, because I think that this is what people have been wondering in the community. It's like, so if you do have a player and they are having attitude issues, you had to deal with something similar to this. I mean, Perkz at least went on air himself and said that he had like pretty bad attitude issues towards like season 8. He said, like, even specifically, I remember a quote like, I wouldn't have wanted to play with myself in that season. So apparently it was like, from his own account, pretty bad. And I assume that he's like a pretty honest guy with how things really were. So I think that what the community like doesn't really see are like what other things happen behind the scenes that like shy of a benching. What other options do you really have as a coach if you have like one of these star players that is, you know, acting in a way that could be detrimental to the team?
I think it gets easier over time if you work with a player a long time, because also there's mutual respect at some point. But 2018, I mean, first of all, like there's a clear distinction between like a player and the person, right? For example, I love Luka to bits, but as Perkz, he tended to be sometimes a bit too harsh, right, or too extreme in a way, and we also have to dial down. But you also have to understand that a player is a person, and you have to, like, as a coach, understand why he's changing. Like, there's always a reason for it. There's never, unless he's a complete, like, nutcase, he will not suddenly change his personality or change the way he is. So if you try to empathize with the player and talk to him and tell, and of course, also before, show him that he can trust in you or confide in you, then this should not be an issue. But if you, for example, I had many fights with Perkz. I had them. Like, there's no reason to lie about them, right? There's more than I can count, but ultimately just about getting better, and why should anybody's ego get hurt if ultimately both want to win? And that's just the main point you always go back to, right? Let's say, no matter what the reason is, a player will change. You can always catch them by asking, okay, but how does this help us winning? And then he can explain his reasoning. And then you as a coach need to decide either his reasoning is solid, and you can agree to him and say, okay, you know what, the way you're approaching it is correct, but like talk to your teammates before, or you try to bring him back to saying, okay, but in the past this worked better. But so you basically just take the context of the person in the context of actually wanting to win, and that's what talk to them. I think that's a conversation, though, that you need also some experience with. For example, the first 3 years in Rocket, I was shit at doing so. Like, I was actually really bad. It takes years to develop that skill as a coach as well.
I actually have a thought on that. Do you have something, Dom?
No. I had another thing that I wanted to ask on top.
Fair
If you
enough.
have something
I'll
on
do
this,
a quick
go
thing.
for it.
Yeah, this is a quick tangent. Basically, that's an area where I feel like there's confusion, right? Because a classic like take that I do have is that I do think that if you're the coach, it's really dangerous to become friends with the player because then it can influence you. Like you can favor that player, you listen to him too much, or for example, then it can ruin like the authority element of the relationship. Like if your friends, it's all right to fuck around, it's all right to go, well, I'm not doing what you're saying or whatever. But I agree with what GrabbZ is saying and the idea that you have to connect to the person, not just the player. You're not just coaching the player. The player, the person is the guy piloting the player, as it were, in the game. So you have to know what's going on with them. Like, I'll give you an example, right? Let's speculate, 'cause everyone has already, that the relationship between Jat and Alfari either didn't exist or it's broken down completely. Here's what I would do if I was Jat and I found out that a player doesn't think I'm a good coach or doesn't want to be coached by me. I wouldn't go, that's like outrageous, like I'm the coach, like you're just a fucking player, I'll punish you. Here's what I would do, I'm not even joking. I would take that player out to a bar, one-on-one, we would go and get a drink at like 10 p.m. at night, and what I would tell that player was this, I'd tell him who the person I am behind my persona of the coaches. So I would tell him, for example, here's who I am competitively, like here's how my DNA is made up, here's why I want to win, here's why I want to be a coach, in fact, here's why I even brought you in the team and what sort of player I'm looking for. Then I'd try to hope that as I sort of offer some of this myself, he does the same thing to me. And now maybe I find out part of the thing he disagrees with is maybe he's put all this time and so much of his identity is based around certain way he plays or certain things he does in the game. And he thinks I'm coming in and just dismissing that and telling him it's wrong or you do it different. If you can make that connection, now you've got communication. Now you can actually potentially I won't say like fix the problem, it's just two different personalities, but you can work together after that. Because one of the problems I think in a lot of these scenarios is people are just super quick once they have like an emotional response to be like, I don't like that guy, or like he's wrong, or this guy knows nothing. I hate that phrase. Like, everyone's got to get rid of that in esports. He knows nothing about the game. The shittest coach in the whole world knows something. The question is, how applicable is it? Is it got the right players? Like,
yeah, I was going to say, GrabbZ.
Basically, you can't. I've always said this. I think it's impossible to succeed without some good qualities. Like anyone who wins LEC ever, any coach definitely has some good qualities as a coach. Might not be the best coach, might not be the ultimate coach, might have massive flaws, but he's got to have some strengths. Like you can't trip. I know fans think, oh, if I had these players, you know how many people said that about the greatest players in sports and didn't win the championship? Loads, by the way. There've even been really good coaches who didn't win when they had the best players. So I think that's an area where people really misunderstand it. Like I say, you're connecting with them and you're communicating, but you're not then just going, look, we're just pals now. We're looking at whatever you say, I believe you, and whatever you say. You don't have to breach that barrier. You can do if maybe it's special circumstances. Like I could imagine maybe if you know someone for years and years, you go through all the battles, then you could maybe get to that level. But I think that's like a really misunderstood part in like the coaching world because people don't know when they're a new coach, like, how much distance do I keep? And then we hear all these stories like, oh, you're all pussies in LCS, you don't control the players. And like, oh, well, I'll show them. It's like, well, no, don't go too far the other way. Obviously, it's a fine balance. That is essentially your fucking job, is walking that fine balance.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, go for it.
And I also think it's very important to note that, especially in League, but in every sport where you like work with young players, you as a coach have to realize you're working with very young, very specialized human beings. That means by the time they go into the scene, they're not developed fully as a human and also in the character. That means at some point they make decisions which seem rash or like irrational to you, but they're just developing. So that means if you bring your ego into this and suddenly you make it a fight about who's wrong or right, not only will you not help the team, but you will also like just understand that you're talking to like a young human being and potentially even hurting him in the long run. Because then suddenly the coach he's trusting in is not giving him the room he needs to grow. So I think that's just something that in this whole discussion we're also forgetting, that we're talking to, like we have this players on pedestals, like they're 20 years old, the world stars, but that's what they are. They are the players on the pedestal. The human being is still very young. Usually was playing from mom's house until 16, suddenly a console gaming house. They're not fully developed as a human being. And I think you have to always give them benefit of the, and try to grow them into that phase basically and help them develop also as a human.
Yeah, so I mean, what I was going to ask you is how much ego should you have as a coach? Because it seems like that is kind of the context that we're hearing around some of these benchings, is that a lot of these are ego decisions. Like a player says something disrespectful to a coach or crosses a certain line, and the coach feels like they need to bench the player to maintain like order and structure within the team. I mean, at least you're smiling there, but I actually believe that this is a real thing. So how much ego should you actually have as a coach? And like, how should you manage this when it comes to dealing with players and people potentially crossing the line or disrespecting you or something like that?
I mean, then we've discussed what ego is, right? For example, a player disrespecting me could never hurt my ego. It couldn't happen. Like, if you as a coach, first of all, you show the ego. That means you believe you're here for a reason. That's just what it is, right? You're not, as Fern said, you're not here randomly. You just didn't walk through the door and you're a coach. That means to a certain degree, you must believe that what you're doing is correct. And with that ego, with knowing that you're here for a reason, you can grow as well. Like, you can be fine being wrong. So as long as that your ego should protect you from getting hurt too much, it should not fight against your teammates or protect you from other opinions, which I think currently is happening more and more. The people, like, your opinion doesn't define you as a person. I think this is important. You can be wrong. You can still be a great human being. And if you lose that feeling and you think that your opinion defines you as a person, then of course you start being defensive. But then you just cut off every discussion, every path to growth. So I think that is what ego should be. Ego should just be, I'm here for a reason, I deserve to be here. And with knowing that, I can go into the discussion and grow with you, or like find a path to a strategy or to a point that we agree on. So if that's not a given, if a person's too defensive, then they're not fit for a coach. That's that simple.
Yes. I've got an analogy for you. Basically, it's what I actually have always tried to do. It's a secret, because by the way, if you know how life works, you can tell everyone all the secrets. No one fucking does them, so they don't get any of the results. One of the things I do on talk shows, just go watch my talk shows, is I don't have debates. We don't argue about stuff. We have discussions. Now, every now and then a discussion might get heated because, you know, someone else on the show tries to argue, or they refuse to just let you have a different opinion. What I try to do is create a space in which everyone can say what they think. They can connect it if they want. They can disagree because I totally disagree with that or whatever. And it can all exist in this one space, and then I try and shape it into the best conversation. Like, the part that's interesting, I take that now. But maybe another time, I take a different part. Now, as a coach, in my opinion, there's one of the main things you should be doing. The reason why you shouldn't have ego in the negative sense is you shouldn't think, and this is one of the things I've often criticised Reaper for, because I thought he did this in a lot of his teams from talking to his teammates, well, players, is it sounded like he thought being a coach was like being the antagonist in an anime. He's that fucker who's going like, I have planned this out intensely, like, you did not know my machination. And so as a result, right, even players are going like, I don't even know what you're doing. Instead, right, in my opinion, GrabbZ is totally right. You have to have an ego. Like the psychedelic visionary Terence McKenna used to say, ego is what tells you whose mouth to put the food into at the dinner. Like, the point is you have to, like, take care of yourself on some level. But I love the way he phrased it there. The reason why it doesn't hurt GrabbZ's ego if a player goes, I totally disagree with you, the jungle pattern is different, is because GrabbZ knows why he's there. He knows that he's good enough to be there. He knows that he can cope with these situations. He can handle someone disagreeing with him. That means he actually has, by the way, a pretty strong ego, but in a positive sense. So in my opinion, it's only bad if the coach starts to think he's the sixth player, this is StarCraft, and he's controlling 5 units, and they're supposed to just do everything he says, and they're supposed to not think. Like, in my opinion, like, I don't even know where you've got that idea of coaching from. That sounds like nothing like I've heard from all the great coaches in sports and stuff. That sounds like some little kid shit, quite frankly. So if I ever hear anyone goes to that level, it's like, listen, unless you really are some super genius who's figured out the game better than everyone, which I don't really know if that ever existed, you don't really know what your job is, basically.
Yeah, I mean, and I think the issue here is when I hear GrabbZ talk, I mean, one of the things you just said was that you didn't have like all the skills required to, like, you know, really communicate to players in the way they needed to be communicated to in your Rocket days. And it took like years of coaching to get to that point. But I think a lot of the problems that the coaches have is a lot of these people will end up getting head coach roles with zero coaching experience. I mean, when you look at the coach we're talking about here, Jet, he was a pro player for a very short amount of time. Then he worked at Riot as a shoutcaster, a small amount of time on the balance team. And then boom, he's already in a head coaching position on one of like the most prestigious organizations within, if not the West, at least North American LCS, right? So yes, when you have these type of people come in, I feel like there's something where they want to like prove their own worth, not only to the players, but also to the organization. So there's this thing
they have
where,
massive salaries, by the way. So they also need to justify it, Dom. Yeah, of course. They can't. That is the saddest thing. You know, the thing I always said was the best about GrabbZ is that if G2 does well, he's invisible. No fan knows what he did. Dude, the people who come in on the salaries we're talking about, where it's their first time to prove themselves, they don't want that. They want it to be clear that, like, that's also what I think Reaper did, dude. I think he was benching people and doing mad drafts because it was like, look, if it works, who do you think, whose idea was that? Wasn't fucking the players, was it? Like, I did that. I was the genius behind. So, like, that's where ego goes too far, I think, mate.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that the issue is when you have one of these teams, right? Like, if you're seen as the owner, as, you know, somebody who, didn't get the results. Like, I mean, essentially the way I feel like coaches are evaluated is people, even like owners, will just look at what you expect the level of the players to be, like what you think that team should achieve, and they look at the results, and if you don't hit those results, then that's like the coach's fault, and the coach is going to end up getting fired for it. So I feel like a lot of the reason why coaches have this like ego necessarily or whatever we're talking about here, this idea of like how they need to coach is because they're afraid of losing their jobs. And like what I was going to ask you is how much of like your position within your team, like your idea of like, yeah, like you're here for a reason, all that type of stuff is, because you're in G2 and Ocelot for years now, and you have the familiarity with the players. Is that something that you can just step into and immediately have?
I mean, let me talk about ego again, basically, right? If the ego is strong enough, then you shouldn't care about this. I mean, it's easy to say for me, right? For example, I know I could be fired tomorrow and I'll probably get a job next split anyways, because now I have the titles. Now it's easy for me to say, of course. But ultimately, what it comes down to is that if you build your coaching up upon these out of ordinary strats and trying to make a good draft, you're not developing. At a certain point, it gets back to you, right? And I think also, to be honest, if you and coach and you can't explain to your ownership why the season went wrong, I mean, that's then your fault, right? But I think it is very clear that you can communicate to your ownership or to your GM or whatever why certain things don't work the way they should. And if they agree with you, then hopefully they will trust you and say, okay, this guy knows what he's talking about. But if you're sitting there like, oh, yeah, I don't know, you played bad, then of course they deserve to be fired, Like there's always a reason for it. As a coach, even if in a bad team or in a team that's playing worse, you can still take active steps to improve those certain negative aspects you're having. And that's the responsibility you should take. And that's something, for example, that when I came to G2, I didn't do perfectly. And that's something that Carlos is really big on responsibility, right? And he was in my DMs every single day, like fucking flaming me to bits because I was like passive in that way, right? Which I also had to learn. So of course, again, we come back to experience. But that's also just an esports sickness because in traditional sports, no one really becomes just suddenly a top coach. They start in academy teams, they start in lower leagues. They get the first experience. They also had their own coaches they could learn from. They take from other coaches in different sports. I'm not a big fan of this whole book reading and stuff, like saying, oh, I read this book of self-improvement and suddenly now I know how the world works or how this coach works, Like I could read 10 books about Sir Alex Ferguson. I would still nowhere near his level. So it's an experience, but also, again, ego. Even without experience, you can have an ego because you come into it with an idea how coaching should be. For example, in Rocket, I was very naive, right? Because I'm German. I played football in Germany. I know how German coaches are. Our mentality is if the coach asks you to jump, you don't ask why, you ask how often and how high.
Yes.
And you just do it. So I come to Rocket and I tell Betsy I want to do this, and he's like, why? And of course, nowadays you just explain in-game wise, and it makes sense, but he's still like, why? And I couldn't comprehend the fact that I gave him a reason, this is what I wanted to do, and he doesn't do it. My reaction was really harsh, like I learned in Germany, and Betsy's a very sensitive player, so he shut down. And I lost him for half a year. Like, I couldn't approach him anymore because I was too stubborn to realize that if you start as a coach, you don't do what you want, but you do what the team needs. That's almost the first step, especially in a new team. And you can see the same thing in every traditional sport. If the coach stays for 3-4 years, he starts buying his players that he wants. But in the beginning, he will always take what he has and tries to make the best of it and help the team in the areas they need help with. They don't come in and say, yep, like if I go to sports analogy, no, if I go to, let's say, who's an EIL team? Big.
Yeah,
I tell them, one mouse, and we play like dumb one now. Well, my players are there for a reason. They're not dumb one players. Make them play like mouse. Make them play like they can play. And if you realize as a new coach and try to make these steps, you're for sure going to have success at some point. Sure, not the first year maybe, but then that your peers will realize you know what you're talking about, that the players you have, they know what you're talking about. And hopefully some GM will also realize that you actually have the substance behind your work.
Let me ask a follow-up. I'll make it hypothetical because, it's just fun to talk about things that could have happened, right? Let's ask a question, right? So last year, your contract was up, just like some of the players' contracts were up, right? You're saying there, right? Because people are going to assume, yeah, but you've already run all those splits and you'd won MSI and you won that. Just to make a point, right? Hypothetically, let's say in the spring when you lost to Mad Lions and no one knew before that final that you're necessarily going to beat Fnatic. There's all sorts of uncertainty in the air. They've done the role swap, etc. Let's say you lost the spring split. Maybe you even lose the summer split as well. You go to Worlds, but you get grouped. You just go out in the groups, third place team. There's a world where maybe GrabbZ isn't in G2 right now, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, G2 is success driven, right? That's also why I have ego. If I wasn't good enough, I wouldn't be here. like I wouldn't have survived Perkz 2018 instantly. I wouldn't have survived Carlos. That's just how it goes. I barely survived Carlos 2018 when we lost in the finals. So I mean that's what happened, right? In the background, it was already like, oh, what the fuck are you doing? So I had to improve and I had to grow. Like that's fine, you grow. Now in a position where I feel confident. The only thing I would say to new coaches is don't let the narrative go wild like with me, which is something that I already noticed from what I hear is that some GMs still have no fucking clue. Let actually the narrative still decide what they think. So that was I think the only big mistake I did in all these years here. But yeah, I mean, and I'm fine with that, right? I think that as a coach, you know this is what happens to you. You can't expect to have like a long, prosperous career. You will fall on your floor, you will lose your job. And then hopefully the qualities that you like grow into before will help you develop further and get a new job. Might happen that it's not, and then I'm unlucky. And then I'd had 5 wonderful years in esports and I go back to studying. But of course, I'm gonna do this job longer, so hopefully this won't happen. But yeah, just again, you can't come into esports expecting everything to go right and then suddenly be sad if you get fired because you lose. It's just sports.
By the way, there's also like a very quick analogy I want to make as well, because it's also from GrabbZ's career, which is you notice he's referenced multiple times back to Rocket. Now I'm sure loads of viewers now like, who gives a fuck about that? It was just some like bad team years ago that like was like not even in the playoffs. No, what he's explaining there is even he, who's now become a very successful coach, has like a resume that would be like 1 year of his career is an entire other coach's entire like trophy haul, mate. But his point is, I had to fuck up and make mistakes. So it's like the creative process. You know, when people start something and they've already done like 3 songs, they've done 3 articles, and they're asking people to like read it and give them all feedback and like, oh, what are you thinking? Is it getting up for it? It's like, you have to try like 100 times before you get good, mate. Like everyone has to fail to get good. That's how you become good. So I always tell people this, while no one's reading your shit right now and no one's watching your video, do loads of them, get all the mistakes out while no one's watching. Then by the time you get popular and you have the one video that goes off, or in this case you have the split that goes well, now all of a sudden people only know you for that, and you've got like the reputation you want, that you're good, you know what you're doing. Because people unfortunately have like a very static way of labeling people. This guy's good, this guy sucks, like, and that can last years, like we're saying in this story here. So in my opinion, it's not even like Jack can't coach or whatever. Maybe in 3 years Jack will be the best coach in the whole LCS. Maybe he'll be a dominant force. The point is, he might have the game knowledge from being a caster. He might be good at talking from being a caster. He might have some past as a player that gives him some insight, but he's never coached before. He should probably have started with a bad team. Then he could have made half the mistake. We wouldn't even know because the players would be shit. And we'd just go, oh, I'm sure he doesn't have the players to work with. Then eventually, once he gets his skills up and he learns coaching, because like GrabbZ says here, every single great coach for the last, I'm going to say 40, 50 years in football, you have to rise through the ranks. Like, if people don't know this, people like Jose Mourinho, he was the fucking assistant coach to like Bobby Robson, who was like a legendary coach. Like, he didn't just come out of the womb coaching people and winning championships. Pep Guardiola came up through the Barcelona system, literally as a player, through like every single step, up. These are the best, if you don't know, like Americans say, these are like the most successful coaches of the last 30 years, basically. So like, if these guys,
10 years for second region,
there's another one.
Germany.
If these guys can't just walk into the job from day one, you're going to do it in a video game where, as he says, you're basically dealing with like 17-year-old kids who don't know life and they're just sick at playing fucking jacks or something. You're not. It's unrealistic.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, so we've had the coaching drama in NA. We've also had the coaching drama in EU. So that brings us to our next thing that I wanted to talk about, which is like SK Gaming. But specifically, you made a tweet yesterday.
No, that's wrong. I've got to correct you there, Dom. That wasn't the coaches. That was the players in SK Gaming who decided all of that. So they don't have a coach, it turns out. They just have a spot player.
Oh, cool. So so how does that exactly work when your players are the ones that...
I don't know. I still don't know. Because think about that statement they put out. The first statement was like, and every single thing that In a Flame guy said, they were all just like, look, it's not us who want this, it's the fucking players. And I was thinking, bloody hell, what's this like? Have they got machine guns or something? Have they taken over the building in a coup? Like, are you their boss? What are you talking about? And so I even said, if Jesus believes that's the right move, just say it's fucking my move, but players agree with it. That's the way you say it, right? Because now they're trying to claim like, oh, now he will be moving back. Like, what is it? What is this shit? Like,
even in the statement, it was about like, while we think he was not the issue, we need to move him somewhere where his talents can be used better or something like this.
There you go.
They're still like, just admit it's a mistake. It's fine. You fucked up. Who cares?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, my God.
I mean, it doesn't have to be according to Keikaku. You can just do things wrong every now and then. You can just go, yeah, I fucked up. I was trying something crazy. It didn't work.
Yeah, well, that's fine, right? And I don't think Justice wrote a statement, right? It's not his fault, but my God, like, just say you fucked up. It's fine.
Yeah, I mean, I think the weirdest thing about looking at that team is just the way that they were losing games is actually the opposite of what you'd expect a coach to do within the game. You know, like you'd expect if a coach is joining the game, like might have bad mechanics, might not have the best laning, but he's supposed to be like a brain in the game, right? Like he's supposed to be somebody that can at least direct the game where SK was having their issues. And it felt like it was actually the opposite of that, where SK would just win these early games and then just massively throw later on, which is like, so what is the point of having a coach here? So I think that was weird. And then the other thing that was strange is obviously the fact that this is now a repeat thing where Jess has now done this before as a coach, and it stops. Well, I guess, technically 3 times, right? So when it happens multiple times like that, it can't just be, oh, well, the players keep on asking for it. It has to be, I mean, I would just assume you're watching VODs afterward with one of your players. You're like, yeah, like, oh man, I could do this.
Here's what I would have done in that scenario. I would have probably helped you out with that. Oh, really? Dude, we have the saying from Shakespeare. Methinks the lady doth protest too much. Like, dude, you're going too hard to pretend it's not your idea. What, you're just, every team you go on, the players are like, you know what, mate? Even though to us, you're just a washed old support player. We need you in this team. You're way better than all of it. Whose role do you want to take? His, like, fuck off. There's like 15 players haven't asked you to do that. As you're saying, Dom, you're just really good. Basically, he's a master of fucking persuasion techniques. He knows how to talk to people where they go, I've just had a weird idea. And he goes, yeah, what would that be? And they go, sure, I was thinking we might need a new player. Yeah, me and support. Oh, sorry, I mean, what was your idea? Yeah, I thought maybe you should come in and support. Oh, not my idea, but I agree. Like, fucking hell, who's this guy? Come on, mate. Listen, he's good at it. Listen, he's got some control, but fucking hell, mate, this is ridiculous the way this is presented.
The one thing I just want to mention that actually, that's the main part that annoys me about all of this, right? Is that the new player that comes in, unless he is Mata 2014 or the absolutely Smurf,
he gets fucked.
This career is fucked, yeah. Like,
Yes.
This is again what Misfits did 2000, was it 18?
Yeah.
Where they just like,
No, 19.
for some, yeah. That's the exact same thing again. Like, unless he turbo smurfs every single game, people will compare him to like what SK was in spring, and he's also part of the problem, and he doesn't have time to develop. So that's the main thing that annoys me. It's like what Jesus wants to do. I mean, at this point, I think even the show with you guys, he said like he still thinks he could be a player. Like, it's out there. Like, it's not like he's hiding it. And I can respect it in some way, right? That he thinks he's good enough.
I think that's like the ex-player copium. I mean, I still feel like that. Like, to this day, I think I'll always feel like that. Like, it just
but I'm saying that's his thing, right? If he wants to like bring a team through this and try to make it work, then that's his opinion. But now somebody else will suffer the consequences.
Yeah,
Treatz, I think Treatz is lucky that he has enough report now in the scene, because he has such a good split that people will forgive him. They will say, you know what, even if you fuck up in jungle, it doesn't matter. But this new guy, he's fucked.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Treatz has actually been playing pretty well in jungle. I mean, he's definitely looked better than some of the junglers in LEC right now. Correct. All right, so moving on to like bouncing off the situation. I shouldn't say moving on. You had a tweet directly after this news. You said, franchising is great, isn't it? All partners doing their best to ensure being competitive and utilizing contributions in the best way possible. So obviously, detecting a little bit of sarcasm in that tweet. Can you tell us what you really meant by that, GrabbZ?
I hate franchising. That's what I mean by that. No, first of all, I was memeing the SK announcement, of course, right? I used their wording towards the end, so that was the main attempt, but I guess people didn't catch it, because even the comments that said like, okay, franchising here, this. I am aware of the positive franchising brings, especially in a young league. I'm aware. I'm not saying that the decision we have made for franchising is bad or whatever. This is the system we're living in. I just think that again and again it is shown that the lower tier teams don't invest enough in winning. I think the more, like, even if you're like in franchise in lower league, you should take risks. You should. It doesn't happen because maybe again the same thing, that the coaches of the teams are scared of I take rookie team and we fuck up and suddenly I'm jobless. Could be, but why does a team like do I like actually for teams
Golden Guardians?
Astralis, like recycle players, they're like, there are 10 players in the air who might not be better, but you can shape them to be better if you want to. Just go for that instead. But instead, now we see the same players we saw 5 years ago trying to make a living. At least now Maggie Felix is in there, so he is now hopefully in an environment where he can actually try to show what he can do. After like having 2-3 years of having also personal issues, holding him back. Vitality tried, for example. I think that's a good example. I think Vitality is a good example of franchising. Like, they were 10th, 9th, 10th, but they tried. It didn't work out, but at least they went out there, had an idea, and went for it. They had Compa Labrov. Skeens didn't work out. Sucks, but they actually tried. So I can respect Vitality for it, but not every org does it. Yeah, exactly. So, and now they went for the leader self-made roster. Like, it's very explosive, can blow it up in the face, but they went for it because they want to try. to improve what they're doing. SLT now as well, like they're just bringing new players and try it out. So I can respect that, but not every org does the same thing. And also, of course, it goes a bit to content when I think an org does something wrong if 80% of the player base has more followers than they as a professional org,
Okay.
Just bring
It's not a bad
some content
metric.
out.
Yeah.
It's true though. Like, what?
Yeah.
I don't know.
True.
It doesn't have to be G2 wise. It's like G2 is very G2 content. We can't
of
replicate
course.
that. But why does no org try to introduce your player to the scene? Like, why is there no piece about your player you're getting because you think it's good? There's nothing. I don't know shit about the Stratus players. I want to know because I think this enriches the scene. Like, what hardships did he endure? Like, how was his childhood? What does he like to feed? I don't give a shit. Just do content, but it's not happening. So instead, the org just copy or mic check because they see, okay, this gets clicked, so let's do the same shit G2 is doing. So it's also like going to that
and then they
direction.
realize they don't have G2 players in their actual team, so their mic checks don't get any views either. I mean, I didn't even know SK had mic checks. I looked; it was literally getting like 500 views per episode in spring. Like that was some numbers where it's like, damn, like this is. I know people that have started creating content that have no following at all in the scene, started creating content this year, and they're getting more viewers than that. Like that is like actually, disgraceful. And they have this huge platform, but it's like they don't monetize it. I mean, I guess my question is like, where do you draw the line? Because I'm sure a bunch of orgs would tell you when you present them with things like this that they're actually, trying their hardest and they're just taking risks because that's what franchising is supposed to allow you to do. It allows you to field these rosters that have, younger players or less experienced players, we should say. And because you're able to take those risks, like now you're going to be able to maintain investments because you can't, you don't have a chance of getting kicked out of the league. So where do you draw the line between this being the case and teams just simply abusing it, knowing that they can no longer get kicked out of the league and just putting together like rosters that don't really make sense, but they don't really care because there's no real downside to, going 10th with an expensive roster or like, 10th with a roster that costs no money.
But then you would enter like a discussion about league and itself is monetized, right? Because I'm also aware that traditional sport like football in Germany has a different system than league and how money is generated and how money can be distributed. Because there, for example, if you like in Premier League, if you go down, you get like a parachute basically. You get payments to like not burn up. And I'm aware that league doesn't have the same. So that like the entire infrastructure. That's also why I said I'm aware why we're having franchising. I'm not bashing the decision. Sure. I just personally don't like it because then this happens where I think the competitiveness goes down. I think the excitement goes down. Because there's nothing more exciting than having a team that almost goes down the year before, suddenly wins a championship, or a team comes up the league, suddenly goes to second place. Like, we are lucky in Europe that we had Mad Lions and Rogue, because these two orgs, actually, these are perfect examples. These two orgs are perfect examples of how franchising should work. Yep. They built the infrastructure, rookie rosters, infrastructure, also hold on the players, even if it doesn't go that well, and try to build up on that, right? And not just take an ex-player like Rogue. It was Finn-inspired, Larson, Wulat in the beginning, right?
Yep.
And support was
Vander.
Okay. So you have two players who are like kind of known. You have 3 academy players. That's a good ratio. Matt was
just humanoid and 4 rookies.
Shadow, humanoid. Humanoid had 1 year experience. Yeah. He wasn't a veteran.
Yeah.
So, of course, it's also always luck. I can't just shoot at orcs and say you don't try it. Of course, they would say we did.
Of course.
But I think it is very clear to see a difference between how Rogue and Mad Lions did it with their entire approach and how a young rookie team should be coached as well, right? The entire, like Rogue with Isma has like an insane infrastructure behind them. Isma is a sports psychologist who leads the entire background stuff, basically. So they actually have built up everything from the ground, put players in a system that works, and then you get results. Right, so they invested in not only the players but also the infrastructure. I think Matt does something similar. I'm pretty sure the other orgs don't do it, for example.
Yeah, I have a question for you though. Don't you kind of? Because I get the feeling you must relate to what GrabbZ was implying by that tweet, which is the bottom teams, especially when they do things like what SK is doing now. It just feels like, why the fuck am I wasting my time having to practice for a game against you? Like, how is that helping me win the league or go to Worlds and do anything? Meanwhile, I look at the LPL and they're like 10 teams that are amazing. They're all playing against, etc. Don't you feel like that's the downside of franchising, right? That you look at Golden Guardians as a good example. Like, aside from like 1 year, their rosters are a joke, right? They embody everything that you can abuse that's bad about franchising. What are your thoughts on it, Dom?
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like if it was, just random luck where these teams were putting together really promising rosters and it kept on failing, they would eventually like have one good year, or they would show some promise. Like I think in both leagues, right, LCS and LEC, you see teams consistently place at the bottoms. You see the same orgs do the same type of things, and they always place towards the bottom, and people know it going in. It's not like when you look at the Astralis roster or you look at the Golden Guardians roster, you're going in like, oh, this team actually might have some promise. They might do, like, both rosters you see, and you're like, oh, they're going to be 10th. And then if Astralis gets 9th, it's like a fucking miracle, and people are throwing a party, It's like, oh, shit, they got 9th, look, not 10th. Like, it's fucking amazing or something. But from my perspective, like, I feel like it's just decreasing the quality of the league, and I'm worried about the long-term effects of that. Like, I feel like I am less hype to watch LEC this split than I was, for example, last summer, because I feel like, I mean, XL honestly exceeding my expectations, but SK and Astralis, it's like, unless these teams play each other, you're getting a minimum of 2 games that should be relatively low quality every single day. And if XL starts shitting the bed as well, then that's 3 games. Unless these teams are playing each other, you're getting 3 games a week, or every single day, that are going to be like bad. And I'm just worried that this is going to eventually hurt the viewership of the league. It's going to make it less exciting. I know for me, I'm starting to be less hype about LEC, the split. Like, I don't want to wake up and be like, oh, it's SK versus Schalke, I guess. All right, nice. Oh, what's the next game? Oh, it's Astralis versus Mad Lions. Oh, I'm sure Astralis will definitely beat Mad Lions. Next game, oh, it's Rogue versus XL. It's like, come on, man. Can we just at least like get some fucking teams that are like here to win? And I don't feel like it's healthy for the league. And I think that LCS is getting even worse with this, where there's so many rosters where I just feel like there's no promise there. And I don't even care if they do make the 8-team playoffs, because I feel like they can't do anything there anyway. So that's my biggest issue with it personally, is I feel like it's reducing the competitiveness of the league, and I think it's hurting the teams. And it's the type of thing where I feel like the top teams in the league also suffer from this, because they get worse quality opponents, which means they're not tested as much. So when they go internationally, it's like, you look at LPL teams, they have to play so many series that fucking matter, and all these teams they're playing against have their own identity, so they have to like prep. Okay, we're playing against JDG this week, really strong top, really strong jungler. How do we learn how to like play around these things? Okay, what do we have next week? Oh, we have FPX. They play with like a bunch of these crazy melee mids. Now we have to play against somebody who's really proficient on that playstyle, which is part of the reason why I've always said I wanted Leader in LEC, because he brings a different angle and a different approach to the game that other people I feel like can learn playing against. So that's pretty much my take on it. I just wanted to ask GrabbZ, like, well, what's your take on the competitiveness of the league being reduced by franchising and having some of these teams that seem less promising?
Yeah, I mean, for sure, it invites complacency, right? You can't always say that's the reason, or it is worse than before. I think that's always up to debate, but it just invites it. I mean, why is an org holding up a franchise spot if they're openly saying they don't want to spend that much money? Isn't the whole point of them being able to invest and then not lose on their investment because they stay in the league? That's why I understood franchising. If they don't want to lose money, then they should be in a system where they can go down. They didn't lose much money, and that's fine for everybody, right? I think that's just the big difference. And again, I'm really aware how league is monetized, and there's not that much money to be made. Of course, I completely understand, but you can't have both. You can't have low investments and franchising. I don't think that works together.
Yes.
I think it's very clear which teams want to win. Again, a good example, Vitality. They make moves which either they try to invest in youth, it doesn't work out, and they give them a chance, or now they buy out the self-made, they give them a playmaker mid lane. They actually think about what they want to do. So I respect it a lot. We have orgs like Schalke, I think, who do a good job. So it's not only black and white. I think Schalke is a good example of a team who doesn't splash that much money. Like, they still spend money, they invest smartly, and they actually have risk of longevity. Now, of course, unluckily, they got fucked by their football team, and they probably have to sell. Which is really sad, because I like the org being in the league, because I think it was a really good example of how you can also run without having to splash money like Fnatic and G2, because of course you want to win, right? So I don't think it's a secret that G2's and Fnatic's rosters cost the most usually, because these teams need to have the best players. So
I think go on.
No, I just think that again, it's very evident. I don't even have to say which orgs actually try to improve themselves and the league, and which don't. And
Okay,
I
that's
think
why we're here. We'll say all the teams. You don't have to get yourself in trouble. Don't worry about
Sure.
it.
I'm just gonna drink, and you guys go ahead.
Yeah,
I mean, as you say, Dallas,
Yeah,
Excel. Yeah, the obvious. Yeah, it is. But that's why, by the way, when you were given the example of Vitality, people don't know Vitality definitely fucking spends. I actually think that's an example of an unlucky team. They have been so unlucky with some of the pickups they've had over the last year and a half. Like, they had players that other people were all telling me, oh, these should definitely, dude, people, no joke, coming in were like, Milicia should be like one of the best, like at least like a mid-table Militia. Then Comp was supposed to, no joke, be like one of the best AD carries.
I can tell you, we scrimmed them in spring, and they were one of the best teams in scrims. We had no idea what the fuck is happening on Edge them. Like, we actually, oh shit, but I think I made a tweet, like, I think Vitality was the dark horse of the split, and suddenly they shit their bad completely. We're like, what the fuck is happening? Yeah. So yeah, they were just unlucky.
Yeah.
And then the thing is, like, when you say that angle, like, why are you in the franchise if you don't want to invest? That is a key concept that LEC, in my opinion, just my opinion here, everyone, I think that's where they fucked up with some of the orgs they accepted. Like, if they'd have come to me and asked me about Astralis and I could have told them what was going on, this team was never going to spend. What people don't know is it is a miracle, the teams they had in Season 9 and Season 10. Spoiler, they just got them because they got Deficio, who got Nuke Duck, and then Nuke Duck got Alfarian, and then Alfarian and Duke Duck wanted upset, and they were willing to take, like, people were doing pay cuts to get motherfuckers onto these teams. Like, it's actually a disgrace if you know how those players were treated. What they did to try and win, and then what would happen is they'd come like 4th or 5th, and every fan would go, they'd just shit these players. It's like, are you kidding me? Like, if you knew some of the things behind the scenes that Nuke Duck was going through, like, mate, it's no wonder he's fucking losing his mind. Like, it was just it was spiraling out of control. Like I say, they offered fucking Mithy, like a legend of the role, like the minimum fucking amount. Like, yeah, you can play again, bitch, if you just take this $2 off the floor, little whore. Like, what the fuck is that? What is that? Like, what is that? So anyway, here's what I would say, right? This is what actually I ran into when I was on my CSGO project that I was doing last year, Flashpoint, right? We announced that it was going to be a franchise league, and eventually it would have 12 partner teams, right? It would be like a bigger version of LEC. But here's the thing, it only ever had 8 at the end, and it had 7 at one point, and then it had 8, right? What people don't know is, there must just not be 4 more orgs want to join. Are you out of your mind? Dude, there might have been 30 orgs applied for those last 4 spots, but they were all orgs that are in like ERL teams in League of Legends, for example. So there were people who, could get the $2 million buy-in, but then they'd have had nothing left. They wouldn't have had any money whatsoever. So they could never, ever have been better than like 10th in the league, or they never would have been able to go and buy like a big name player from the other league. So what it would have meant was if we'd have filled the league immediately on year 1, we would have been in a shit position, because then all the really good orgs that could bring up and could afford talent can't get in. You can't buy a spot anymore. And so this is one thing that's killing me at the moment in league, because I always said the worst thing that's going to happen when you bring franchising in is there is no way for the game to decide who the teams that should be in the league are. You can't have the promotion match anymore. And so basically, like, I'll tell you right now, maybe everyone's going to go in scrims, that's not true, and maybe I look like a dickhead. If I had to take the bottom 2 teams in LEC and play them tomorrow against fucking Carmine Corp, Carmine Corp's in fucking LEC. I'm just saying that, like, I might be wrong on that one, but I would speculate if you look at the players they have, look at the team they have, I think they would just beat them in there. Now, you can't do that in franchising because someone paid 10 million euros or whatever. So I understand the business side. That is the difficult part of it.
Look, all I'm saying is, like, give me Scara, give me Cutie Pie, give me Voyboy, and put us up against SK. I think we got a shot right now. Half those players don't play the game, but like, I don't know. I mean, SK is bringing back their old players too. So.
I thought it was setting up for a flame on Golden Guardians. I didn't know you were going to go fucking SK. Holy shit.
Yeah, I was going SK on that one. So okay. I actually wanted to ask a question off this point. I wanted to make a comment off this point because theoretically, what should happen in franchising, and one of like the rules of franchising is that if a team underperforms for long enough, the league does have the option of removing them. Now, we've never seen the league actually exercise this power, but it's supposed to be in there.
I think it has to be 4 splits in a row.
Yeah, so it has to be, you have to be bottom 2 4 splits in a row, which is so fucking extreme. It's like, so if you go 10th, 10th, 8th, 10th, now you're like allowed to stay in the league. So, I mean, this is something that I wanted to discuss. Like, do you think that this is just way too long? Because I feel like this is like the how badly you have to place compared to like how long you have to be that dog shit just seems almost completely unreasonable. I mean, they're essentially saying that we'll never kick you from the league once you're in franchising. Do you think there should be any type of like reformation, or I don't even know if it's possible, but do you think that this is like an appropriate, clause to have in there where like a team has to go 9th or 10th 4 splits in a row in order to be removed? Or do you think they should like, adjust it to be more reasonable? Like maybe like bottom 4, like you can't, or like bottom 3, 4 splits in a row, something like that.
I think it should be part of it, but it should also be, again, how much interest do you generate to the league? And I'm aware this doesn't go overnight. But we have again, I have to talk about orgs, and I'm gonna get so much flack in the background again. Excel, for example. So what do we know about Excel? Why do we care about Excel? They have Youngbuck, who's
They're British.
a veteran coach. Did they do con over Youngbuck? I don't know. I think Youngbuck is a pretty interesting personality. He saw the world in esports. He won many titles. He was in world's finals. And I think you could do con with Youngbuck. I know they are sponsored by Chupa Chups because apparently that's their main selling point. And every tweet
in the dog. Yeah, you're right.
and every tweet ends with they're holistic. Like that's what I know. But holistic. That's their buzzword for everything. Like their approach is very holistic. Well, you're not fucking winning, so apparently not helping a lot, right?
Yeah, that's not part of the whole. Like, that's something else.
They have a lot of holes. They got the word wrong. They looked it up on a translator or something. Yeah.
For example, they have Patrick. They have Patrick in a team where everybody knows this guy is a beast.
Sure.
And he might be wasted there, but I don't know anything about Patrick.
Yes.
Like he doesn't generate interest because the org doesn't use him to generate that interest. I don't see people say that they like Patrick, but they don't become Excel fans because of it, and that's Excel's fault, not Patrick's fault. Yes. So that's an example of how an org could or should use something. I mean, this whole Excel esports chant started because they had, I think, staff members in the fan. And then the
Jesus, okay.
I think this is cute, you know. I think that's how you start something.
Yeah. That's what they do in Korea, by the way. If you don't know, the fan club starts the chant. Yeah, it's a real thing.
I'm affirming that. I think that's great, right? That's an attempt to start making people care about you, and it worked in the beginning, right? But then they failed to work on this and give the fans more why they should care about the organization. And again, I have to always extend the bench because there are some people who don't understand context. I'm aware that G2 had an easy path because we won everything. Like even before I was there, G2 as a we, right? But G2 won. If you win, it's easier to create fans. I'm aware of that. But still, there are creative ways to I think do it. As an example, why does the show that Fnatic did with the hot dog costume and where they eat spicy food? I think that's a funny idea, and that's something that should work, irrelevant if you're winning or not, because then the players are just funny themselves, right?
Yeah.
I just think Niski just a funny looking guy, and him in the hot dog suit. I think he just suits him well.
At least if you're 10th place every season, be so fucking funny that all the fans want to watch you. That means the league generates more money. Then it's fine, Then at least your franchise in there, you help our partners, we all gain something from it, whatever. But if you do both, you don't generate interest and you lose all the time, then why are you there? I just saw it.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
by the way, that's another aspect actually that GrabbZ is right about. If you want to look at the business side, let's ask how you do on the business side. Do you generate interest in your team? Do you generate interest in your matches, like you're saying, Dom? Do people even care that you're in the league? Even if you succeed, by the way, even if you make the playoffs. Because even if Excel had made the playoffs, they wouldn't have had loads of fans. Not in the same way, by the way, Schalke would, for example. Because guess what? Schalke used people like Gilius and they got way more hype off of that. You wouldn't even have known how good Patrick is. You're right. It was that shit, by the way. This is how Reddit copies. That just came out because eventually loads of coaches and that were I actually think he's one of the best in the whole league. And then Reddit was I heard that opinion. I'm going to write that down and get an upvote. And then 1,000 fucking monkeys with typewriters bash. And we have a Reddit thread, don't we? We know how that shit works. I'll give you another example from CSGO. In CSGO, even though actually this team did quite well in Flashpoint, but because the league wasn't very good, we had an organization, MIBR, made in Brazil. Now, even though they're owned by an American org, because the team is all Brazilian CS gets massive viewership. I'm not exaggerating. Here's the analogy for you, right? Who do you think, Dom, is the third best team in the world in League of Legends? Who would you pick? Just give me a name.
Maybe EDG or something.
There you go. Imagine if a team who was let's say FlyQuest. Imagine if FlyQuest brought more viewers than EDG. Right now, it's not even about competition. You can absolutely be part of our league if you can bring that many viewers. That's what MIBR was like. Even when MIBR changed all the players in their team, except one, they had the same viewership. They were getting more viewership than the third best team in the world in CSGO. If you can do that side of the equation, you can also be in our league. Now, it doesn't have to be as strict as if you're 10th place, you're kicked out. Because tell you what, if you bring as much viewership as the 5th best team or the 3rd best team, maybe you get to stay even if you're 10th place. You can balance both out. It doesn't have to be as extreme, So I think, that's a massive area that people are overlooking. It's what do you actually do with the talent? It's why, actually, if you remember, it was Carlos, super early in franchising, who made that really cryptic remark where he just said something that there's some teams that are really good, some orgs, and then some are just parasites, basically. Because he's right. What happens is when teams like G2 go out there and Fnatic and they use their players, they use Rekkles and they use Jankos and Perkz, and they build the viewership of the league, they build it up so that people want to invest in the league, people even want to buy slots in the league now. The guy who does nothing does actually get to increase the value of his org, even though he put fucking no money in and no effort into it. And he does get some more fans than he would have if he just got kicked out after one split because Carmine Corp beat him out, etc. Like, he is literally the tick on the ass of the fucking rhino that is G2 and Fnatic at that point in time. Like, there are only a few orgs that are up there. By the way, again, give credit to Rogue and Mad Lions. They've done it. They've successfully also, not only in the server, now they're transitioning the other parts of it. I'll give you a quick example. Has anyone ever seen a Rogue player come on one of these talk shows? They are always in a special interview room that has Rogue written across the wall. Their mic is always very good quality. The camera is perfectly set. This is basic shit. Like, what is it? How bad that they're on like bad microphone, no proper cam, like the internet's all fucked. What is this shit? Like, this is amateur hour.
Yep. And I mean, I think we just see, like, with the LCS teams, like, how bad it is compared to what it used to be. Like, I mean, the other thing is the utilization of, like, people to make your org better. I mean, you can artificially do this. If you're going to be an org within LCS or LEC and you're going to pay $10 million from a spot, you could easily pay $100,000 a year to have a content creator pretty much get you, like, pimp your org for you, you know? Like,
yes.
Look, when I was averaging 5,000 viewers, Team Liquid was paying me like $6K a month. Like, if FlagWest wanted to pay me $10K a month, I would have just done their whole shit for them. Like, I literally would have carried that organization, and all these content creators could do the same thing, which is why some orgs do it, and that's why they make money, and the other ones are just slowly withering away. Where it's like, I mean, you're gonna see eventually, like, all these teams eventually sell. You know, if you're telling me in 20 years that we're still gonna have Golden Guardians and FlagWest and all these orgs within LCS, I would be very surprised with how they
for sure. Because they must know themselves that they suck on some level. Like, some of these orgs do. Like, they'll just sell, especially, by the way, in light of the whole Schalke thing. Like, if people realise, wait a minute, so we weren't really very good here, and it was getting really hard, it was going to cost a lot more money. Why don't we just sell for 3 or 4 times more? Get out now. We still made like 20 million, and, you know, we fucking go do something else for that. Yeah, people will say, I agree with you. I think people will cash out. Hopefully, then, by the way, that's I hope when it resolves itself. If then Riot or whoever decides is very careful, here's what I would suggest, Riot. They don't listen to my suggestions for 10 years anyway. I would suggest get the top orgs together and ask them what sort of criteria, like what sorts of teams would you want to be in? Which teams do you, for example, know do good business or do the fan interaction well or look like they can scout players? Get in the right org when they buy in, and we can solve this whole problem. It can be solved in the next few years.
Definitely. All right, so let's circle the discussion back. I know we started with SK. We kind of talked about the franchising thing. I wanted to just talk about, like, the obvious roster move that people have been questioning, which is why not just put Treatz back to support and bring up the Academy jungler, you know, like, so you have at least 4 players from Spring playing the same position that they're playing now. What are your takes on them deciding to keep Treatz in the jungle and bring up their ERL support instead of using their ERL jungler GrabbZ?
What I'm saying is that their ERL coaching staff must legit be gold status, that they get a player ADC ready after 3 weeks, after saying publicly they're not doing it because it's not ready. They already said they're putting Treatz and jungle in support because they looked at the ERL, so didn't find anybody that didn't think that that certain player is ready for the ADC. Mm-hmm. Now suddenly after week 2 he is, so good luck to them. The coaching staff must be really good. Yeah, I think it's, I don't know. I just can't find a good word about it, you know? It's like, especially the wording around everything, it's really fine if experiment and doesn't work out, you know? Then at least I would say, you know what, you tried something. If fair on the floor, it doesn't matter. But if you then put it high and mighty and you still did no mistakes, you're just really unlucky still, and there is still good quality, then I think that's just a mistake. I know for a fact they reached out for 2 junglers, which I think both didn't want to join, which already tells you.
Yeah,
that,
I mean, Gilius was allegedly one of them. Like, that was the whole rumor.
Like, for a player like Gilius, who I know for a fact it's a competitor, like, he really wants to win. For him to say, you know what, I'd rather not play for your organization and improve myself, that says a lot about how certain orgs are viewed in the LEC, right? And yeah, again, I don't think that if you really try hard to find someone, that you could not have found somebody who's better than your coach on the support. Like, because Treatz is doing fine, right?
Yeah. Which
in itself, again, this is a risk. Like, in isolation, that move to bring a good support, I would say this is a risk that's worth taking it, you know? Like, if you as an org think you believe that the new support is so strong as well, like Treatz, and Treatz offers more intangibles than Things does, then welcome to change, you know, then congratulations. But you bring somebody who might in game bring a lot, but of course, I mean, Jesus himself said he has no hands on Treatz, right? Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's just puzzling. And
Let me ask you a follow-up though, GrabbZ, because one of the things that they tried to imply, they said it on our episode, but also I noticed they've said it behind the scenes as well. They claim, right, and this is where actually we had an interesting dispute between Dom and Innerflame. They also claim the reason why Treatz needs to be the jungler is because he had such a good map awareness as a support, and so they feel like actually between support and jungle, like jungle is more important in terms of like setting up the early game and doing all these like shot calls and all this bullshit. And Dom disagrees because he's a fucking jungler, so he believes the support's the most OP shit ever, and it's a mini mid lane
Jungle
roaming around the
support
map. So yeah, we all know the fucking conflicts, but I want to get your take on it. Essentially, ignore like the other context of the moves. We're just saying, where do you put Treatz? And the question I'm asking you basically is, if you agree Treatz is good in this area, do you personally, would you agree? Do you think if you had to pick between jungle and support where he'd be more effective, would you pick jungle? Would you keep him support? What do you think?
I think the only way this works, and the reason why it works for him, is that jungle right now is in a very simple state in terms of, because right now jungle is only a team game. You full clear, and then you get top side or bot side. Right. That's how jungle works currently. Not sure if Dom agrees or not, but I mean, of course, I'm exaggerating to an extent, right? Whereas in the past, it was about knowing the matchups, finding creating pathings. How do I get like the counter jungle off? How do I play? How to get a gank off top? Right now, you just know after the first clear, you should know the camps respawn there. He will be there at 5 minutes 30 because his camp respawns, and if he's not there, I can evade him. He loses the jungle. Boom. So that's why I think Treatz has the freedom to actually bring out his shot calling, and support jungle is both. So he can do the same thing from support from the jungle. I agree with that. So if he was somebody who calls jungler, he can call us support, and I think this works perfectly fine. For example, here in G2, we have one guy who doesn't shut the fuck up ever, and Mickey who doesn't talk a lot. So that fits perfectly, right? Jungler just talks all the fucking time. Nobody else gets a word in, and then that's how we play, and that's also how we visibly play, because early game, if he leads, some fucking dog shit, right?
Okay.
So maybe Nelson brings in the belts and like makes him shut up, then maybe early games are better. No, but I think for Treatz, I think it can work fine, especially in the current jungle meta. It's just, again, they didn't replace him adequately on support, and that's just a big mistake, right? Again, if they would have said, we have this young, promising support we believe in, which they already can't say anymore because it said publicly that this guy is not good enough, you want to build him up, and Treatz can't play jungle because of these reasons, I think the backlash wouldn't have been as bad.
Well,
I'm
just going to put it to you guys straight. 3.5 wins. Are you guys taking the over or the under on SK? 3.5 wins. I'll let you think. Thorin, you go first.
Ooh, let me think. How many games is there left? They've played 5 right now, so it's 13.
So there's five games played, 13 left. Do they get more than 3.5?
I'll take the under on that, because here's the thing: for almost any other team, I would say, what are the chances that like you don't like accidentally win a couple of the best of ones? But I actually agree. I think when they put this player in, I think that he is going to get fucking tortured. I think it's going to be really bad mentally for him. That bot lane was garbage anyway. It's not like they had some of the best solo laners. They have some okay players, but their players probably should be in like the 8th, 9th, or 10th best team. So actually, if there's only 13 games left, and basically they have to win like more than a quarter of that, almost a quarter of that. Like, nah, I don't think they do it, mate. I'm saying there's too many. The rest of the teams beat them. Even Astralis gets wins on them. I say they get under. You going over, GrabbZ?
No.
You're going under as well. All right, well, Jesus, I'll be the hopeful one. I was going to say over.
I just realized as well that, because I talked about the orc saying he wasn't enough, right? But the new player knows that his teammates and his coach agreed together that he is not worthy of being in this ADC, and suddenly he has to play there. Like, I just realized how fucked up that must be mentally for him. Like, every single criticism he gets, like, he's not there to learn, he's there to be the scapegoat. That's how it feels like. Yeah. Because the coaching staff already basically said implicitly they don't believe they can work with him, right? That's the main crux. They said they can't work on him, that he can't be good enough in the future. And now suddenly he has to play. That means every criticism towards him, it's so fucked, actually. Yeah. Good going to a point. Oh my god, he's so bad.
I mean, he just might sit there. Like, if I was him, I would have the biggest ego ever, because that was the last resort. They went into the season saying explicitly, this guy should not be playing. And then things went so fucking bad, they went 0-5, they had to play him. So, you know what? Maybe he has none of the power, but maybe he just also has all of the power. That's a thing that you have to consider here. All right, so the way that I wanted to structure this is we talk about all like the relevant stuff that's happening right now with like the roster changes, coaching stuff in the beginning, and now we're gonna do the stuff that's relevant to you and G2. So obviously G2's been the most dominant team in LEC excuse me, history. Sorry, it's hard to compliment you. I mean,
What the fuck are you? Oh,
Jesus, it literally hurts me to compliment GrabbZ. Like, I physically start shutting down when I start complimenting GrabbZ.
But you're not complimenting me, you're complimenting G2, you know? You can still flame me, that's fine.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. All right.
Yeah, he doesn't do anything. Why are you complimenting him?
Exactly.
So your team has been one of the most dominant teams in LEC history. You guys were supposed to have the super team, the best team. I mean, people were even crying about how you made the league uncompetitive by
LEC, by paying for players.
Yeah, by having just the best team by far.
I know.
Obviously, things did not work out as well as expected. And I wanted to just kind of know, like, obviously you don't have to give me too much inside information or anything, but what are like the main takeaways that you guys had from spring and like having that loss? Do you think it was good for the team in any regard to kind of have like the reality check, or do you think that the matchup of players just wasn't like they weren't as cohesive as you expected?
I think it was mainly a fuck up in the direction you want to go on playoffs, which is mainly on me. Because people forget that we coasted to like first place and we lost 2 games in the last week because we didn't give so much of a shit anymore because we're first place. I mean, the 2 games were like 1 game we had Vega support and then Rekkles jungle, you know? So like organized season was really good with first place, with the strongest team. And then for playoffs, I mostly made the call, but also like together with Jankos that we wanted to try this teamfight style with like enchanters. Which in scrims, our scrims weren't that good, so it was always hard to find a direction really. But that's what we went with, and it felt good. It made sense. We also said that if we don't learn this by now, because we are notoriously worse on teamfighting than SEK and LPLs, because G2 traditionally wins by 1-3-1ing. And 1-3-1ing, up until now with the new changes that they announced with the Tower Gold and maybe made changes now, but it was bad. So we actually went and looked at ourselves and looked at, okay, how to approach team fights, how they play it out, and it just wasn't our style, and we still are not 100% comfortable in it, and it showed. Especially it showed in the final where Mad Lions stick to their guns. They played the dive comps against, even though, of course, Rogue fucked up, right? But Rogue was outscaling, they had their good comps, but Match was quite aggressive, went in every fight, they won the championship. Whereas we can say, especially as a coach, I had made a call, and I made a call to like try to improve for a tournament. We're not even qualified yet, which in hindsight is just horrible, right? First win the LEC and then think about MSI. So I take responsibility for that one. So I don't think it was as bad as people made it out to be. But of course, if the best team in the league says we can't play this teamfight meta, that's a red flag, right? Even for the future. I can say as much as I want that we could have won with our style, but this doesn't matter if it was still teamfight meta. We're still not the best. So it clearly showed our limitations, and we brought on Nelson, who offers a completely new perspective, and I can go more into detail into
that was going to be the next thing we were going to talk about. Like, I'll just ask you the question right now. So, Nelson is somebody who's been like around the scene for a bit. He coached in Brazil, Taiwan, LPL, and was brought into G2. And I found this to be like a pretty interesting move. I didn't even know that he like had good contact with you guys, and I kind of wanted to know where it came from originally. I understand that you guys wanted to have a different perspective, but was it one of those things where you were just trying out for a strategic coach? Did you specifically like want to get Nelson, or was it like something that you just thought was an area that was lacking within G2?
I think the question itself you should ask G2, not me. I was also a bit surprised, but there's stuff happening in the background which makes it a bit clearer. But ultimately, which I think the org and myself realize is that, and I think Foreign can also chip in because he has expertise in professional sports, is that team dynamics tend to freeze if you're together for a long time. That means that's also one of the reasons why it's really celebrated and really rare that the team wins 2-3 championships in a row, because it's really hard to get a new impulse. We thought in the beginning that Rekkles will be enough. Yeah. Because I just explained, right? 2018 was a new team. 2019, we got Mickey and Caps. 2020, we started with the role swap. And also number 2. So we had every single time a new impulse, something new to learn, something to look forward to, right? And now this season, we got Rekkles, who is a very calm guy. That means he will not come and interrupt or interfere with the structure, which from him perfectly is fine, right? It's not a criticism, it's how he is. And I think we could have worked with that. But then the issue is not only him, but Wanda, Jankos, and me are together for 4 years now. This is the 4th year. with Caps and Mickey the third year. That means we know each other so well. It is hard to create conflict. And I don't mean conflict in a way of screaming and arguing, but like actual conflict when it comes to how you see the game. Because after 3 years, you know how you see the game together. And that way you're blind of new stuff. Like, of course, we see how Damon plays, we see how FPL plays, but we view it from our point of view all the damn time. And it's incredibly hard.
Weird. I guess just give it a
We
second.
can talk to you now, so it must be working on somewhere,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So, I mean,
Nesn's just wrote my stream is down. So should I just wait, or do we?
yeah,
keep going, or do we-
just wait. I'll
wait?
tell you when.
Okay.
I can see the bitrate. I'll tell you guys
All
when we should be back.
I was talking too much. Nesn cut my internet.
Yeah. No, it's my internet. He cut my internet. Okay, looks like we
because-
just got reconnected. Let's see. Let's wait a second. Chat. Can we get some saves in chat if we're saved? Are we saved? Okay, we're back. We're back. We're saved. We're saved. We're saved.
Okay, awesome.
Okay, so I don't know where exactly you.
Yeah, I just go back a bit. So basically, in short form, is that a team dynamic freezes up. That means if you're too long together, you need to change because you just see the game from the same point of view all the time. And now with Nelson, we have somebody who has a different view of the game. And that's also especially why his ideas right now get so well received, because right now it's very easy for him to see the differences between what he sees is good and what we see is good. So we just try his way, has some benefits and some negatives. The negatives will be less and less for each week we have him there. Because right now, I hate to say it again, because I know Thorin knows that I said a lot is the growing pains phase, which I use every single split, but this time around it's just more about, because we think so much about the details about the game, we think less about how you see the game. And I think, for example, lane assignments were really bad the first 2 weeks, something where, like, especially Cass was really good at, because I think so much about the things that Nelson brought to the table. So now with a new impulse, everybody's ready to learn again. There's, again, healthy conflict, because there's just a difference in viewing the game. Now I talk a lot, and I think, yeah, maybe like I'm wrong, but I think like in traditional sports, I'm not sure who said, I think it's in American football as well, that like after 3 years, either the coach has to change or players have to change normally.
Yes. That's exactly what I wanted to bring up, actually, mate. I'll give you a perfect example. It's a perfect segue. Basically, the concept that I've often heard said in American sports is like eventually the coach, no matter who they are, loses like the like ear of the locker room. The key word is the ear. It's not that he's saying the wrong shit. It's that eventually, like, for example, even if you win. Yeah, you kind of know all. It's autopilot. We got this already. Players need to kind of be like spurred and challenged to grow and change. And for example, maybe a player. I mean, in sports it's a bit different because you can be the best player for years after years. But in games like League of Legends, maybe your role changed and you were the shit and a carry top laner. But now I need you to play a bit differently. Well, guess what? You can't be the same player. Then you can't even be the same person necessarily in our team. So am I going to be the person who spurs that? Do I even see the same vision for the game? So I'll give you the sports example, because what you said at the end there is exactly what I've noticed, but what a lot of people missed. So people get right the idea, like eventually you lose the ear of the dressing room. So I'll give you two examples. We gave them already. Jose Mourinho and Pep Guardiola are considered like the two best coaches in European football of the last like 20 years, right? They've both had to go, Dom, to something like 4 teams each. That's not because they get like soccer's coach. It's the opposite. It's that even when they've won everything with their team, eventually some of those players, it's like, look, we've kind of like, it's gotten stale. It's like the marriage has gotten stale. We've got to like spice up. I've got to go somewhere else. So there's examples, rare examples. And this is what's genius, right? There's 2 examples I can give from sports where they never had to go anywhere and they just kept winning forever. There's Alex Ferguson and there's Bill Belichick from the New England Patriots in the NFL. Do you know what the spoiler is? He already told you. They just changed the players. What they realised was either the coach has got to go or the players have got to go. Usually the stars we're talking about here. And so it's got to be one or the other. Now, in those rare cases, they were able to keep the coach and then the GMs just did an amazing job and got the right players. I would say, I'm sorry, it's usually probably easier to remove the coach because you want to keep the star players and you hope that, as he's saying, maybe the new coach comes in, he has a different vision on this guy. I'm going to use you in a different way. I always thought you had this, untapped depth or something, So, like, yeah, it definitely translates across, because that's another area where if some fan goes, well, it's easy for you, GrabbZ, you've just won all the LECs. No, it's harder for GrabbZ, Because someone whose team is like second or third for the last 2 years, they might actually still be able to really motivate like the rogue guys. Like, look, we have almost made it. Like, let's just keep pushing. We all believe. In his team, they could easily think like, look, we always fuck around at the beginning of the split, and I don't play half the champions, but I get it together in the play. Like that story, I always say it works until it doesn't. The second it doesn't, you just collapse completely.
Yep.
Just to bring it back a bit to like what we said in the beginning of learning as well, right? Is that I learned the split, for example, that if I as a coach and as an org, we talk about MSI worlds, MSI worlds, MSI worlds, you can't be surprised if your players are not 100% motivated to win LSC. Because the way we talk, set the goal, right? And if we always jump over the LSC sprint split towards MSI, then of course this 5% that are missing might lose your games. And I think that's, again, learning as a coach, right? I will never do again. We will always talk about LSC first when I'm in summer split, and then we can talk about those. Sorry, I just wanted to like bring it back.
Yeah. I thought a good angle we could go to, by the way, Dom, I want to get you in on this actually, is just the idea of, because this is what people haven't talked about properly. Yeah, they know the idea, like Nelson has his own ideas, stuff. Just the idea of bringing someone in from a clearly successful region, which is constantly ahead in the meta, and he can not only bring something, but he's not a player. He's not Core JJ who wants to go and live in America. He can just be in constant contact with all those people who are still in that region. He is like a fucking pipeline. I know they're building that pipeline for like Russia over to Germany. He's just doing that from the LPL all the way through to fucking Europe, right? The G2's office, isn't it? So like in that scenario, like in my opinion, that's one of the ways you level up. You bring someone in who has not only a fresh set of eyes, he's coming from a totally different world to you.
Yeah, absolutely. All I'm saying, GrabbZ, is when he starts telling you to replace Wonder with Flandre, that's where you have to cut him off right there. That is the spot where you got to be like, all right, I stand my ground. You know, he might play a lot of WoW, but Wonder's good.
You know him. Why do you think he didn't already say that? Like, you should know by now.
True, actually. Flandre would have won this matchup, by the way. So, I mean, I kind of wanted to circle back to the original question because I'm more interested in, like, how this occurred. I mean, was it something like, I mean, you said it was a question for G2. Did G2 make this, like, decision, or, like, was it something that was, like, tryout-based where, you know, he came in for a scrim set, you were able to evaluate how he did within the team and then decide to hire him? Or was it just, like, something where it's like, here's this guy, we thought he was pretty good, and then, like, just Nelson shows up randomly?
Can you enter that? I'm just thinking how I'll phrase the answer here. Let's just say I'm not too happy with the process, how it happened. Mm-hmm. I am happy though with Nelson because I knew Nelson before. I know what he can bring. Okay. So there's nothing against the decision itself. It's just about the circumstances, which I also understand from a business perspective because you also have to think about my contract is also not infinite. And there might be or might not be some discrepancies about certain stuff. So this also might have played into it. But first of all, that's also why I said it. And it's perfectly fine, right? I don't think that's anything like too extraordinary, is that it was visible that we need somebody who brings that fire and the flame and the aggressiveness.
And the belt. Because
we had Perkz before. Yeah, I mean, you said it's a meme, but it's true, right? Because also one thing people have to realize, and this is also something I said before with hierarchy, the people have to stay constant. That means I took the role in G2, which backfires for me completely now about the whole mediating stuff, right? Where I first of all want to make sure everybody can talk to each other and we find a common ground, which now apparently is the only thing I do anyways. But what that means is that I now suddenly, when Perkz leaves, I can't suddenly be the person who screams at you or like who makes you angry or who tries to like provocate you. That doesn't work.
Yeah,
the players will not believe me. They will lose. Yeah, they will lose complete trust in me. Like then in that team that we have currently, there's no one who can fill the void. Jankos can try to away, but again, I know Jankos for 4 years. He wasn't the guy before. He can try to be a bit more. He can try to be a bit more captainish, and that's fine. But we need somebody who's actually not afraid to be a dick to everybody. And we know Nelson. He is the perfect candidate for that one because he doesn't give a shit, and that's a good thing. So I think that that fact was very clear to everybody involved in this, and that's also why I think G2 ultimately made the right call to like bring him in.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, this concept has worked before, Dom. Like, if people don't know, this is why I've always pushed back. It's nothing to do with being his friend. Like, I flamed the fucking guy and he's my friend with Loco Doco. This is why I always said, all those fans, you know what's mad? You know when he was on TSM and they were winning the splits, everyone was like, he's the best coach in the whole fucking West or whatever. Then, because there was those later splits and he sort of got a bit cocked by the org and then removed in that way, right? And they won without him. Now every fan on Reddit's like, he knows nothing about the game. You know what he does know? The fucking Korean language and every top Korean coach and player in Korea. So what he did in those early years does, even if you think this is all he did, was take concepts from them that he could just ask them about. He doesn't have to watch LCK and like really weird reverse engineer it. Like, what are they trying to do here? And fuck up like all the Cogmore comps, like all your fucking teams were doing, and fucking C9 just fucking it up all day, picking the wrong Lulu and the wrong champion. Like, he can just go and ask them, what are you doing with that? What are you doing this way? Then also, think about this one. How about LS? Does everyone really think, right, he just sits in a fucking dark, well, he does actually literally sit in a dark room. He's got that fucking thing with eyes. But he doesn't literally just sit in a dark room communicating with the universe. And then in his mind, it just goes, Leandries. No, what he does, right, is he goes and uses his Korean language skills, the fact he can literally play with people on the ladder, and the fact he can contact people on the Korean ladder, and he talks to a guy who's a top one trick on something. Why is this working at the moment? He looks at people's building paths and knows what their smurfs are. He has access to information other people don't have, and he's translating it to the West. Because the weirdest thing of all, me and GrabbZ were just talking about this while you were like playing the song to come on, is that's the area that is totally unexplored in League of Legends. Nobody asks when a region goes to the top, who was behind that? Because everyone just looks at the players, they go, oh, well, the reason why the LPL won the Worlds is because Rookie and the Shy, and then the reason why the LPL won Worlds was Doinby and Tian. No, my question is this, who figured out that way that Doinby and Tian play? Who figured out the way that Rookie and the Shy could operate in a team? Coaching staff. We don't even know the Asian coaches. We know Koma, a couple of the other ones. We barely even know, by the way, the Coach Kim guy who was in T1 and fucking like a whole bunch of squad. We barely know these guys. We don't know the guy who was in RNG when they almost had that calendar Grand Slam year. And so me and GrabbZ were talking about this, right? One of the mad things is, these coaches that we know nothing about because we just look in the server and we just think, oh, the players are just geniuses, right? There's even actually a strategy they've used that a lot of Westerners aren't going to know. So I'll give you a little piece of information here, Dom. I'll list off some teams for you, right? EDG, FPX, Jingdong, Royal Never Give Up, top. Basically the best orgs in the LPL, right? Mm-hmm. All those teams have at least one LMS coach. So you know when the LMS years ago, finally, like, we're beating the Koreans, and like, wow, how do they do so good then? It's a small region, like they don't really have much money, but they overperform. They just got those guys. They brought them in themselves. They formed like a whole hierarchy within the LPL, and they've changed the fucking game of the LPL. That's why whenever anyone goes, you should know this watching the LPL, Dom. Western fans still think the LPL is just fighting for no reason. They think it's a gunfight in the Wild West and everyone's just shooting off guns and whoever's got really good guns, firing skills, wins the game. No, that means, by the way, all the white fans on Reddit, Cloud Templar in every breakdown after a fucking Korean team fails at one of the international tournaments. That means you don't understand what they're doing. It's not that they don't understand it. It works. They win the game. You don't understand it. Oh, it's just all chaos and mess. That means your brain can't detect the pattern. You don't know what techniques they're using. So that's one of the things I think all the Western teams are way back. That's where G2 are actually ahead of the game. They've tried to bring someone in who can bring some of those concepts and bring in this totally different perspective on the game. He's not just coming to tell you what draft they do there.
Yeah, definitely. So
that's right, Nelson. I know you're on chat. We didn't bring you because of you. I just know you still have connected to LMS, guys.
And GrabbZ said he didn't even want you here. All right, no one even wanted you here. You just showed up. So like,
listen, Warhawk wasn't available, and you know it's too expensive. So you know you're the budget version.
Yeah.
Basically, here's how it actually happened. I was in the team house, like GrabbZ, he's trying to make it cut, right? Basically, what happened was Jankos and Wonder are like, Daddy, Carlos, can we have one of those Chinese coaches? They're always whipping our ass at every international tournament. He goes, I don't know about that. Have you asked your mother? GrabbZ, of course. And GrabbZ was like, Carlos, I thought we agreed on this. Like, at the end of the year, we'll see what's happening. I don't know if we're ready yet. And he goes, oh, bloody hell, I've already gone and done it. He pulled out from Manus, but it wasn't a Poppy. It was fucking Nelson. He goes, I've already got it, though. And then they go, oh, yay, we got it. Yeah, we got LPL coach. Yeah. Jankos fucking still and punch in the air. And then now it's too late. Now we just got to raise him up.
I just thought, like, I want an Asian coach. We have Asian coach at home. Coach at home is Nelson.
Yeah, it's Nelson. You were thinking of like super sick guy like Coma or something. You've just got Nelson. Sorry.
Yeah. No. And I did, just to make sure, like, Nelson's really insane in the game, right? I'm aware like how Naruto still control your career, and he's still like fresh in the West, so therefore just make sure this guy's really insane in the game.
Yeah.
That was all a joke, by the way. I wasn't actually. In case we need back.
No. I think my community especially is very familiar with Nelson and his ways. Now, the thing that's funny is like you kind of talk about him as like almost like a disciplinarian in a way, or like somebody who's able to give like the harsh truth to the players. And we've talked to Nelson before. We've had him on the Crackdown, and he's somebody that will flame you, but he doesn't do it in like an overly aggressive way with his mannerisms. So is he just like somebody who's able to convey like the information rather than necessarily like change his tone, or does he actually, you know, like, or is he willing to, you know, match his tone to the level of what he's saying, like intensity wise?
Not so far, and I mean he can confirm himself. Just he's still online, right, because of visa issues. And I think he's very smart about not being too aggressive when you can't see him face to face, because I think, of course, during arguments, body language is really important. How your face moves is really important. So him right now, if he would go too aggressive, players can't actually understand why it's happening or like what is happening correctly. So therefore, he correctly is like a bit more moderated right now. I hope he can take it up a notch right now, even though he's still direct, right? He's direct. He concedes some points though, which is also good. Like again, I think he can do more aggressive if he needs to, but currently the way we work is fine enough.
Yeah, and I mean, I know from talking to Nelson, one of his big things was, you know, dragon setups, right? Like that's the thing that this guy loves. He loves having like systems in place for these types of situations. Is this something that you guys were looking to improve with Nelson, like the team fighting of G2? Because it seems like you guys historically always been very good 1-3-1 team, and your own evaluation of yourselves is that your team fighting is like generally been the weakness of the team. So is this like part of the reason of the strength that Nelson has and what you expect to have influence on G2? The you know, the ability to have, you know, more setups that should lead to like better team fights?
To give a different example, because I think it's very clear from the first games that our dragons have improved, which of course is Nelson's work, right? And I think we're currently in a state where, as I said, we had no new impulse. We like have the G2 how we want to play, and a completely new idea in some certain aspects, right? Not completely new. Some stuff is new, some aspects are different, whatever. So right now we're in a phase where whatever he says, we will try because it's new, right? Makes sense. We wanted something new, we get something new, we try it out. And now it's just more about finding the balance between what made us great and what he can add. And I think in the long term, hopefully it will help us also in team fights, but and just he can help in every aspect, right? Because every point of view can help, and that's what is growth, right? Trial and error. It's the same like in learning how to be a coach, learning how to be a player. You need to fail sometimes to like actually improve. It's the same in the concepts we will bring. Some will work for us, some won't. We already have some how to say it in English. We do some mistakes because we think about his concepts a lot more in game. Whereas in the past, for example, G2 was like really smart about lane setups and how we allocate lanes and be creative. Now we're, even though in the past without him we rejected structure, like the team hated structure because our strength was creativity. So now we got stale. He has a new guy, he brings in structure, and suddenly because he's new, we're open to the idea because it's a new impulse. And therefore we try structure out, and it helped us get some breaks, but also like hurt us in some ways. So now it's more about, in these weeks that are coming now, we need to find the best of his world, the best of our world, and combine it.
Yeah, makes sense. All right, so this is the part of the episode where you might have to play a little bit of defense. I mean, I don't know if Thorn, you want to kick off the topic, but we've had some discussions on Rekkles. You know, we think that generally speaking, the sentiment that we've shared here is that I personally think he was better last year. I thought he was like one of the best AD carries at the World Championships.
Oh, Fnatic, he was a monster, yeah.
Yeah, like especially last year at Worlds, I thought this guy was out of this fucking world. Like I thought he was insane. And it feels like he's kind of lost that like carry potential. I mean, it feels like just in the game, there's a lot of opportunities where he could play a lot more aggressively, and it seems like he's like kind of falling back to like the more passive approach.
Dude, they had a stat that came up today. It was like he like leads in kills and like has the least deaths. Now listen, that either means you're the perfect AD carry and you've played every game godlike, or you probably didn't take many chances.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess the main question that we're gonna ask you is like, why do you think that there's been like I guess a perceived drop off in his skill level from summer of last year, Worlds, where he's the most dominant AD carry potentially in the world, to just being like pretty good, solid, but not exceptional within the context of G2?
Because also the team he has got worse. We as a team, due to all the reasons I said, we got worse. The G2 of the split was not good. We thought we were good. That's also why we talked too much about MSI. But clearly teams that were hardworking, like Rogue and Mad Lions, were better in the end. And that's not luck. That's not bad luck by our part. It's not luck by their part. They worked harder. They were better. That also means that, let's say, his support played worse than Hillesang did at Worlds. And Hillesang played insanely there. And same thing for his mid, for his top and his jungler, or like, and his coach starts worse, you know? So to an extent, it's always the team performance, because as an AD, you need the space created by your teammates. And in a different setting also is that he's a kind of player, which is something that we wanted as well, that if things are unsure, he's our benchmark, right? Sure, you can always argue that all 5 players diving in and going Harakiri will win your worlds, but you can also equally argue that if you look back at Fnatic, how many games they won where their 4 players are fucking
you meant Harakiri is actually when you commit suicide. Kamikaze is when you go into like.
Sorry, yeah. I mean the way Mickey Jankos played, they actually commit suicide. Okay, I think that right. Yeah. If you look back at how Fnatic sometimes won their games, is by their 4 players inting their face off. Yes. And Rekkles smartly pushing side lanes and getting suddenly 3 items at 90 minutes. And like, how the fuck is this so strong?
He's like the insurance policy, right?
Yeah, but that also has this negative connotation in League of Legends. I think it depends on your team, but in the team that we have with so much explosive power, having something where even if Caps is an off day, or Wonder, or Jankos, or Mickey, we know for a fact at 3 items we can always win the game because he's there, no matter what champ he plays, is a great feeling to have. And he still provides that. Now we go back to like Fnatic, probably the team was better playing around him in team fights, because they played with him for a long time. They knew at 3 items we sit on him and hope that he carries, right? Whereas we are, Rekkles has 3 items, Cap sees somebody, flashes over the wall and tries to kill him. Whereas Rekkles is like, let's say he plays Jinx and it seems like, guys, where's my peel? And he gets 1 shot. So it always goes back both ways. Of course, like we had this whole kha'zix thing, and he admittedly doesn't like the champion. I think he said it in the streams many times. But he tried to learn it and did learn it for the team as well, because then suddenly we have a pick where he also can fly in. Because he realized, okay, in certain comps, we have everybody just jumping forward and Rekkles is alone, so why not just join in? You know, we can do both now. But then, of course, we're not as good in both as we could be, and that's also still what we're learning. And saying that it's on him and that he lost the spark or that he got worse, I think it's just unfair, because we clearly as a team got worse. I think there's no way you can discuss that any player in Spring Split was at his peak in G2. No one. Everybody
it's both at the same time. It's like Rekkles isn't being used the way that he could have been, like he was in Fnatic, but that's because look at the people using him, they weren't using him correctly. So it's like, yeah, I mean, he's even said in the interviews, like, you know, he came in with a different mentality, he was just kind of following what you guys are doing, he wasn't exerting himself. I've got a question for you, right? In your team, obviously Mickey X just came off all the success in his career, aside from that one split with Caps, who by the way is himself like a very, very like a forthright player, playing with Perkz, a guy who's known to be a guy who's a captain, a leader, knows what he wants to do in the game, very direct in what, right? If I'm Mickey X, great. Now all I do is use my hands. I just follow him, do what I need to do. Occasionally I link up with Jankos, etc. Right? When he's playing with Rekkles, what is the dynamic between them like? Is Mickey X like more of a follower in that sense? Does Mickey X need to be more vocal? Because like one of the areas, if you ever watched those mic checks of Fnatic, was I always thought the genius of Fnatic was the dichotomy of Hylissang and Rekkles. That on the one hand, Rekkles is the quiet guy, but he is the guy who's like waiting for his exact like perfect efficiency curve of when to go in, when to go out. Meanwhile, Hylissang is trying to go ham as possible, is super, super vocal about it. So you can also say like no sometimes to it. And I felt like they played off that really well. So why their bot lane was pretty much always the best part of their team. What is the G2 bot lane like in that sense?
With this part, we go back to the whole healthy conflict part, right? There was a healthy conflict between Hylissang and Rekkles because they both saw the game differently. That means they had more chances to look at the game from a different point of view and learn. Whereas both Rekkles and Mickey are both really good at what they're doing. They're really understanding, and they're also really open to new ideas, which means, though, we like conflict sometimes. And this is something that, again, I can speak of myself, of course, the best, is that I probably should have created more conflict from outside, which I wasn't comfortable doing, which is my bad, right? If I have 2 players on bot lane who don't want to step on each other's toes because they both respect each other so much, then somebody else has to do it. Then I should just like be there and kick their asses if I have to. It didn't happen in the beginning. Again, it looked good. Rekkles got the MVP, so obviously it's not like the ground was burning and we had to like take out the fire, right? It looked good. But also now we had discussions on the offseason about how do we create this conflict, how do we bring the best of both together again, and both brought in the points about what was at the best in spring and what was at the worst. And we're working on this actively. But yeah, I just think that it goes back to the healthy conflict pick, that our bot lane right now doesn't have a way to create healthy conflict between each other because they both like each other and they
Tell Mickey X to hit me up. I've got all the great canned lines for creating conflict Rekkles.
No, I mean, that's also hopefully where Mr. Belt can help, right?
Okay.
Who's in chat here and just say, yeah, but the Chinese botlane says this, so I'll play this, and they're both like, oh, I disagree, but then they can have conflict with Nelson or his LPL buddies.
I don't know, man. I think
whatever
belting
that is.
Rekkles would end up differently than you expect. I feel like, you know, Rekkles, like, if he messes up in game, you belt him, he would be like, you know what, I deserve that, and you just feel bad doing it. You're like, oh shit, I wasn't expecting that response. Like, what do I do now? Like, I don't know. I don't know.
He is very accepting of responsibility.
Yeah, like flame punishment.
I even told him I think it's a bit too much. I've never seen a player who's so willing to like say, okay, it's my bad. I think like one thing I can share is like with a scrim game where literally everybody in the team I think had 2-digit deaths in that game. And Rekkles was 13-0 or something. And Tristana, I don't know. And we're still in the game. And we lose a scrim game. Everybody, of course, extremely tilted. And Rekkles just, sorry guys, my bad, I could have carried. And you just see Mickey like, the fuck are you talking about? We like ran down the fuck so hard. But Rekkles was serious, and he was like, yeah, my bad, I could have carried. We're like, no, this is not how it works here. Like, you run the fuck down with us. And at least in scrims, he does a better job at that, and he also has a bit more low devs games. So we're slowly getting him to a point where he can also int it with us.
To teach him how to int, basically. They just assumed in their team, like everyone's born in, but it turns out some players have, you know.
Yeah, I mean,
and so who better to learn to win from than an LPL coach?
Yeah, I feel like I feel like Rekkles would be the type. It's like, but like, don't you guys feel bad when you int? It's like, no, we just laugh. It's actually funny.
Yeah,
you know? Like...
yeah, pretty much.
All right, so
I mean, Mickey's in chat, right? That's why I can flame him. Is like very often like, Mickey, what the fuck are you doing? You're like, on review. I have no fucking idea. And he just starts giggling, you know, like, okay, it's Mickey. It's just his 4th death in the game. It's fucking fine. Go on, next point.
Well, I mean, the thing that I was gonna ask is like, have you been able to like figure out the reasoning for why he's like that? Because one thing that I've noticed is sometimes players do that almost like in a passive aggressive way, like taking blame that they don't even actually really accept, but they want to appear like they're taking blame to like, you know, work with the team. So like, I mean, I feel like that's like just a dangerous thing, because if he's taking blame when it doesn't make sense, like, have you been able to figure out why he feels like he should be taking blame in those instances?
Honestly, I think there's a discussion that goes too in depth into what people went through. And I mean, some stuff he shit himself. Like, I think this whole therapy thing in 2017, where he said it was his worst year, is an example of that, right? So it's just about getting to know him. I'm pretty sure there's stuff even I don't know about, or his teammates. But he is just a result of his experiences, right? And whatever that was, we work with what he's now, and we try to support him as much as we can now. And what lies in the past, hopefully, he doesn't have any ill feelings towards it. But that's just the person he is right now. And that's for every bit of us, right? We all shape our experiences. So it's not different for him.
I've got a theory on that. Obviously, look, I'm not going to go as deep as all like psychological stuff. I'm just going to give you like a competitor's version that would make perfect sense why he'd be like that. Look at Rekkles' career in the past, right? When was the time he left Fnatic before now? When they finally lost a split. They lost a split, not only that, but they lost it convincingly. Alliance was a way better team, was a way better team in the regular split, was a way better team in the actual final. And he went to Worlds. A lot of people don't know this story. It was already the story behind the scenes at Worlds that he was going to go to Alliance after that tournament. It's one of the reasons why Tabs had like sort of a breakdown at the tournament, because he knew he was basically going to get caught. They hadn't even played Worlds yet. He hadn't even got out in the group stage yet. So basically, the reason I heard that he wanted to leave at the time was those rumours, they weren't rumours, they're all true. So as an expec here, they came from the old world of the open circuit. They would like fuck around and party, get their shit together in the playoffs, win the tournament as if it was a LAN, and then just go and party again. And they were like, look, we'll practice enough, you know, like we're good players, like we'll figure it out. Rekkles' shit back then was like, right, I practice all the time. I practice. And his teammates weren't doing that, and they came second. So he looked over at Alliance, and Froggen's the same way. He's the guy where if he has an off-season, doesn't go to Worlds, he just plays League of Legends for fucking 30 hours a day. It's a joke, obviously. So he thought, this is perfect. I'll go to the guy who's willing to play at that. I'll join their team. And when he joined their team, what happened? He played quite passive and the team went to shit. So in my opinion, you look at the time he was in Fnatic when G2 was winning everything in a row, like this last era with the super team, right? He lost caps. He's in G2 and he's coming second every fucking time. Oh, it's always second place. In that scenario, I would probably go into that team and think, right, look, they win. I haven't won in ages, so it's hard for me to have a massive ego. Like, they probably know better than me in all these scenarios. And so in this game, like his example there, that sounds ridiculous on the surface. Like, you're 13-0, they're all like 0-8 or whatever. But in that game, you actually realize, like, oh, fuck, I was on the same page as you. Obviously, individually, he didn't do anything totally wrong, but like, that's just like obviously pure speculation. But it makes sense to me as to why your mentality would be different. Basically, it's why, as mad as this sounds, I would want him to like exert himself more. I would want him to tell people sometimes, like, don't do that, or I want you to play this way, because again, that's another perspective. He can be like Nelson in the game. He can bring a different perspective that they didn't have in G2 before.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so I mean, I know Thorn has to go soon, so let's do one last topic and close it out. Topic, I mean, you could probably guess what it is, but the person we haven't talked about is Perkz, obviously leaving G2, now in C9. There's been a lot of like different sentiments throughout the community. I think that this year is probably like the lowest the opinion of him has ever been. Most people are saying that he's, you know, like washed up, like, you know, he's just came to NA to retire, right? Like that's pretty much the sentiment around his career. When he was in G2, like what exactly, like can you at least shed some insight into like what he was providing in terms of like leadership that people miss when they just look at gameplay?
First of all, I think people need to realize that the same way we talked about growth the entire time, this podcast, he needs to grow in a way to realize that he can't talk to Clever, for example, the way he talked to Jankos. And it sounds very simple, but this is a huge change in the mid-jungle dynamic. Whereas Polish people are very blunt, Jankos is very blunt. They both says, you're shit, okay, move on, we do this instead. Whereas I think I have no idea, right? Because I don't talk about him like how he's in the team. But he tries to like, again, reinvent himself a bit, because I think that's what everybody should do after being 5 years in an org, to like actually try something new, try new approaches. So he probably doesn't bring in the same toxicness in a way, which again, as I explained already, it was a good thing for us, right? Because that was the conflict we needed. So he knows for a fact if he brings some toxicness, he's going to break his teammates. He doesn't do it. He's going to be a bit more smarter about it. He was very motivated to be around. Like, he just exerts his aura of you want to give your best, which is something that is very rare in sports itself. There are not many players like this who, like, just by being present, motivate you to try harder. Also because he motivates by fear a bit, because you don't want to be on Perkz's bad side. This guy will eat you up. Like how do I say it in English? Yeah, basically destroy you. Which is to an extent also a good thing and a bad thing. He's very process-driven, again, goal-driven. He brings you back to actually trying to win. As I said before, right? I think, because he's such a big ego, there's barely room for your own. So, like, by him having this big ego and trying to win, you automatically try to win as well. And these are things that if you have a good team and a good team environment will bring you forward. But if you have a culture where maybe certain players are too sensitive or don't take feedback correctly, or
man, you're describing the whole region here. Like, do you think that he's just not a good fit for the North American region then, based off like what you're saying? Because like, I mean, we do have a very like soft, like, don't flame each other, like, don't hurt your teammates' feelings type region. Like, what's your opinion on that?
Yeah, my theories, again, I have no insight, is that the American players could not handle Perkz and still in the same team. I would believe that instantly. I would think they would say it's too much. It's too much.
Well,
for
Sven's
me.
also a no bullshit guy. Yeah. People don't know. Yeah, he's also not just going to just be, oh, that's fine that we're losing. No, of course not.
Yeah, I can highly imagine that one of the other players, or like even all three of them, were like, "Nah, this is too much criticism, too much negativity. I can't work here." This could be the case. I'm not saying it's easy, because even for our players, sometimes we had like moments where like Perkz, like, calm down, like, this is a bit too harsh, you know.
Look, I'll give you an example. You know all the stories you've told half of myself, mate, where every time you go to Worlds, you're losing all the scrims, or it's in the summer split and you're just going, I wish actually we shouldn't win. Oh, fuck, we tripped over and won. Lol, I don't know how we did that. Right? People think that those are just like memes or something. They don't think they're real. This is how different LCS is. Every LCS story is like this. Yeah, well, we weren't winning because we were doing bad in scrims and our confidence was really low. That means basically the same result happening to an American team crushes them. They don't have a chance in the tournament. G2 somehow was like anti-fragile, even when they were failing, and even said, I don't think we can even win Season 9 Worlds. We shouldn't even get past the quarterfinals. Somehow, mentality-wise, when they went in the game, it didn't affect them. They could put it aside. So I could totally see, like, Perkz is coming from a totally different unit. It's almost like the alternate universe if he's trying to go to LCS and do that. Like, in LCS, I think it's kind of pathetic, but whatever, it's a different mentality. People really do care, no joke, about winning the majority of their scrims each week. They feel like if they don't win 70% of their scrims, they're a bad team. It's like, to me, that isn't even what practice is about, but that's a difference in, philosophy, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, in Europe, you have teams who say, like, the draft to win scrims, and that's a negative thing. The drafted to win scrims, so well played.
Like try hard, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, congratulations, you got what you wanted. Also, gameplay-wise, one thing is that I think what people forget, comparing, like, Caps and Perkz, Caps is, like, very low resource in a way, where he, like, gets his advantage by roaming, but doesn't, like, usually anymore solo kill his laner, like, being really aggressive on his tower, depends on champions, whereas Perkz was really good at leading his jungler to, like, exert pressure for him. And that way he got the leads in the mid lane and could then later on distribute his leads somewhere else. So now, if you have a really, really smart jungler like Jankos, who has seen all the metas, and you can talk to him and they both get the maximum of their pressure, then Perkz will look insane, Caps will look insane. But without trying to blame Blabber for it, because again, there are many different reasons why this could have happened. If your jungler dies to Scuttle Crab, if you need him to be in mid, so you're bad. Actually, best example, and I think we talked about this in your co-streams. So I'm gonna explain to the viewers the game where Luca was Tristana against Victor in mid lane at MSI. The way the game works is that Fudge was playing his top wave so fucking slow that Seth was mid lane, let's say 80% of the time.
The Pentanet game is the one he's referring to, the one that they lost.
Yeah. What that means is that a Tristana who wants to jump in can't jump in, because when she does, Seth comes in, she dies. So Perkz, in a matchup where he needs to be aggressive, is sitting back, farming waves. So in the game, it looks like he's not doing anything, and a champion needs to snowball, and people say, Perkz take W, Perkz Lul, he's not solo killing this any mid laner. Whereas his top lane, yeah, exactly. Whereas there was nothing in this game he could have done by the virtue of his teammates. And here's Fudge example. It could be Blabber, it could also be Sven, it could be Perkz himself, All I'm saying is that the broadcast and very often the viewers don't have the insight on how champions have to be played. And this is a very clear example where he could not play the way the champ needs to be played. And then after the game, it just suddenly, the top laner was even CS for the Legends, but Perkz was shitting the bed, Whereas the game, like, everybody plays together. You can't just look at your own lane, have even CS, and then tell yourself, I played so fucking good. And I think he suffers a bit from that maybe they just don't see the game the same way. And then a player like Perkz, of course, loses in power, because he is extremely good if you have the same idea. Because then he has to put less mind power and, like, leading his teammates, micromanaging them, but more about how to play the game out. And then he comes in with the 1v1s, with how to rotate, with how to invade. Like, he's really good at this. But if he needs to, like, actually think about if his team would follow him, then he's going to play worse.
Yeah, I mean, when I asked you the question, you like rolled your eyes and laughed at just, like, the idea of Perkz being washed up or being, like, a bad player. Yeah. So, I mean, for you, why is that such, like, an unbelievable statement? Because that is actually the general sentiment of the community, as far as I can gather, is that he is washed up and is, like, a now, like, just shell of his former self.
I mean, it could be that he plays worse. Probably he does, right? I mean, that's what happens if you go to an A under the circumstances. But the idea
that's so sad to hear. Oh God, that hit me where it hurt. All right, continue.
It's true though, but to have a literal GOAT level player who solo carried or elevated the region to a higher standing, the idea that he suddenly is not the same anymore, and not by a margin, but like from being that GOAT level player to being trash, is just so insane to me. And that people actually spin this narrative is even worse. That people who have brain cells think this way. Like, it's very clear.
Oh, they don't. I didn't imply that at all with my statement.
Yeah. I mean, some on Reddit probably do, right? They look at their stats and they think, oh, look, he got solo killed again. Haha, what an idiot.
I mean, I feel like they're just, like, traveling in space, and they ended up in Reddit, and now they can't get out. They don't even know how to navigate the internet. That's at least how I think of them, but sure. And
again, I'm sorry for all the football references, because I know your audience is Americans. right now, this European Championship, there's this player called Phil Foden, who's like a super talented player from England, very young. He's extremely good when he plays for Manchester City. They have a certain play style. They play possession, short passes, not a lot of deep runs. Very good player, extremely good player. He plays for England. He has no threat at all. Why is that? Because the entire environment plays differently to what it used to. And this can happen to the best players on earth in every sport. It's that simple. But that doesn't mean the player itself got worse. No, the player still has the same quality. He's the mate of the player. It's just that either the GM or the team or the environment didn't realize when building the team, or still can't yet bring him into the same environment he needs to thrive. And this can happen, you know. Maybe Miffy tomorrow is an epiphany, and suddenly finds a way to talk, like to filter Perkz' words to his teammates, and suddenly everything clicks. You know, it could legit be that one day thing where suddenly somebody has an idea and then Perkz is the same. But the idea that he as a player got worse so much is insulting, I think, to every thinking human being and to his legacy.
Yes. If you notice, as a trend in my career, because I've just been around games a long time, one of the things I tend to do is I take way longer to buy in on the rookies, and especially even after one good split, they've had a whole year, a whole split, because I have to see the meta change. I have to see what happens when they play with a different teammate. I have to see what happens when they evolve in the second year and have the sophomore year. And I'm always the slowest to hop off the veteran who was a legend. And the reason why is rookies all the time have like half a good split and a half. The meta changes, they're totally gone. Their mentality's gone. They get replaced. They're not even in any LEC team. Veterans can have a bad split. They can have 2 bad splits. And you know what? Every single person told me Nukedoc's 100% done. Where you at now? The guy's literally fucking hard carrying his team, playing all the current meta champions. He came back after 2 bad splits in theory. What about Featherman? Well, he'll never be good again. We were calling him one of the best mids a year ago. Go through the fucking list. You can keep going. There's loads of players have come back after years where it's like they had a down year. Odoam there. Nobody wanted this guy. He couldn't. He had to get into one of the worst teams money-wise, Schalke, and reinvent himself. Upset after the whole period when he went OG. Oh, he's the reason why OG got worse and not as good. Like, he's probably the best fucking AD carry in LEC right now on a team that nobody thought could be first or second or third. Like, this is a ridiculous. Like, one thing you never do is when someone shows like legendary capacity, and they've done it for years and on different teams, there's some fundamental quality to that person that it can go bad for a week. It can go. There's a famous saying we have in fucking European sports. It goes, form is temporary, class is permanent. Like in this particular scenario, unless I find out they really have lost their mechanics, they don't care about the game to practice enough, or something is fucked mentally, I'll always give those guys a chance. I have a saying, I say you never bury a legendary player until you know they're done. You don't do it like, it's called being a prisoner of the moment. You don't go like, holy shit, Vethio's the best shit ever. Don't anyone ever give Nukedoc a job again. It's like, we don't even know if this Vethio guy's here next year. You don't know that. But meanwhile, Nukedoc's just shown again, oh, look, he's going to be probably a mid to top half of the table mid laner yet again, even on a team nobody gives a fuck about. So I think people are way too good. Like, if I had to guess right now, I guess Perkz probably wins another fucking split and just adds, like, you know, fucking, what is it, like 8 in a row or some shit. Then he probably goes to Worlds. I don't know if they get out of groups at Worlds. There's a million other factors. Who knows what Blabber does? Who knows what the other players do? He's got Sven probably in again. Who the fuck knows? But I tell you what, like, the guy only just won the split. And he did exactly all the shit he used to do in Europe. Like, come on, game 4, then we win the game, then we come back, and wow, they're behind in the game, but they're clutch. And they were, give me a break. Like, and everyone's going to take 3 weeks of LCS and a couple of games. You know, only the bad games at MSI, by the way. They beat literally the 2 best teams in the fucking tournament. But let's just take only the bad games in these 3 weeks and go, what? 9 games? You shit.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
you're all the biggest plebs of all time. Fucking hell.
How about you add on to that the fact that 8 teams out of the 10 teams make playoffs in LCS, and coming into spring, there was a realistic possibility that C9 could literally lose every game in summer and still make playoffs with how fucking bad the region is.
True.
So, like, I feel like it's such a crazy overreaction from the team. But yeah, I just wanted to get some insight from GrabbZ on Perkz, because you worked with him for a while, and he's somebody who's a hot topic in the community right now. All right, so yeah, this is normally where we have to cut off the show. If there's anything you wanted to talk about, any topics you wanted to hit that we didn't get to, floor is yours. We can discuss anything you want. If not, we can wrap it up here, GrabbZ.
Just basically everything good is Nelson, everything bad. keep tweaking at me. It's all fine, guys. You keep it up.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you guys for being here. It was a good episode. Thank you, GrabbZ, as always, for spending your time. And by the way, do not check the Germany score. GrabbZ, you are not going to be happy. All right. So that's it.
What I'm saying is there's a second screen here. I'm aware. I'm really aware.
All right.
I'm trying to hide the pain.
I know. I see you starting to sweat and stuff. Now I know why it happened. All right.
Yeah, pretty much. It wasn't your questions, dude.
Peace.